You can't handle the truth. You can't handle the truth.
What do all men with power want? More power.
My name is Gianluca Zanna. I was an Italian by birth, and I became an American by choice. Our lives and freedoms are in danger. This is not a drill. If you're listening to this broadcasting, you are the resistance.
All systems go.
Welcome to Love, Guns, and Freedom.
We're not afraid.
Hi everybody, this is Luca Zanna. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom on UnitedStates.fm network. This is an emergency broadcasting, and I do not use this word, just because to try to make some drama out there and get you excited. This is real. I'm just a regular guy, and I was even born here, but I've been in this country for more than 17 years now, okay? And I've been trying to study what's going on with this global government, with this tyranny upon us, with these, unfortunately, scenarios of complete tyranny and martial law. And the last 2 weeks, almost 3 weeks, with this new coming event that it's already here called Jade Helm 15, even I'm not really an expert, but probably I'm more than the average person out there. I still think that there is something more than we've been told. And my guts, this is my human instinct of survival. It tells me that something is wrong for many reasons. But, who am I? I'm just a regular guy with an accent. I wanted to bring you a guy here, a man, who has been talking, studying, sharing, trying to warn us the last 30 years. This man was out there trying to warn us about the coming New World Order before even the Internet was available to civilians. So I thought, I'm so honored to have again, this is my third time I have him on my show, Mark Koernke from Michigan. Mark from Michigan, are you there?
Yes, I am, sir. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. No, thank you, because I know you're busy. You got your show going on. And by the way, before we start, remind everybody the name of your show, that everybody knows it, but how they can listen to you.
And we're on LibertyTreeRadio.4mg.com. My program is the Intelligence Report, and we've been running for 20-plus years, actually, 23 years now. And we do a morning program from 8 o'clock to 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and that's on themicroeffect.com and libertytreeradio.4mg.com. Then in the afternoon from 5 to 7, and then from 8 to 9 p.m., another 3-hour block. There's a little break in between there. And that's on libertytreeradio.4mg.com and indianafreedomtalkradio.com. And that's Monday through Friday for both the morning and afternoon programs. So, yep, a lot of hours put in.
I know, and that's why I want to thank you for that. You talk all day, and to have an extra even 20 minutes with us, we really appreciate it. Now, straight to the point, Mark, we've been studying this situation, scenarios of complete martial law and destruction of our republic. Jade Helm 15, okay? A lot of people have been writing articles and a lot of speculations. What do you think about this? What's going on here, in your opinion?
Well, I think this is an extension of the failure of the government and the internationalists last year to take real estate in the West, number one. Mm-hmm. This is the comeback. Part of it is that BLM, working with the Communist Chinese, was desperately trying to confiscate not just the Bundy Ranch, but a whole string of properties across the West. It would have ended in an offensive that would have taken hundreds of thousands of acres from the ranchers in the Red River Valley. Yeah. Starting with the Bundy Ranch and then ending probably there as a cascading, event. None of that happened because the Bundy Ranch was a kickback. The general population, nobody cried about the feds being pushed on or, being run out of town on a rail for what they did. So we've got an international group with a vendetta. The idea is to come back with, again, greater force, and they're behind schedule. That's another issue. They remember last year this was all supposed to be done, and other things were supposed to be in the circuit this year. Mm-hmm. Barry Soetoro / Obama is nothing more than a meat puppet for other people who are manipulating him, and the marching orders were given and things were not completed. So what we're seeing now is an implementation of additional coercive force, or the deployment of resources to, again, continue with the agenda. It's tied in with the UN. Agenda 21 is part of it. An ongoing, of course, surrendering of the border and remanipulation of the American people into serfdom has been the agenda all along, and they're getting frustrated. The military, of course, is in motion, as we know, but it's many different aspects and components that normally wouldn't be participant that are interesting. A lot of Guard and Reserve units have had their schedules completely readjusted or thrown out the window. They're not following by normal procedure. They're not listed with the special warfare groups, but they have been shifted to the areas that are part of the Jade Helm exercise. So this is in and of itself a very critical component that really hasn't been probably touched on very much. We've been talking about it. And all of this has been, as far as identifying it, is through first-person contact with people that either I've trained with, people I trained traditionally as an OPFOR commander years ago that are now still in the system.
Wow.
And they're telling us that they've thrown the schedule out the window. They've been shifted from their respective states. Example, Texas Guard units are being shifted instead of from even going overseas or participating in state exercises, have been shifted to Arizona, Southern Nevada, Eastern California, and parts of New Mexico. Now, Texas is on the schedule with everything else that's going on, but it's interesting, these forces have been shifted sideways. They also were reporting, in fact, I had first-person conversations that where normally if you're in the military, we have a pre-deployment process where we get personnel on the ground, housing is set up, or tonnage and everything is ready to go, there's food there. That's all been thrown out the window also. Right now these units are going to go in bare bones, and they're going to be going into the areas without the normal, logical, preparatory actions that would take place.
Wow, what do you think? But why that? I mean, how they can support themselves?
It's to shift power and probably to camouflage and create confusion with manpower motion, because in reality, there's only a handful of groups that might be stupid enough to follow the orders of the internationalists to attack, say, property holders or mine holder owners, or even whole communities where the communities, they want to run them out of, say, the Rocky Mountains. Utah's in that situation. Idaho's in that situation. Parts of Montana are in that situation. So if they start with basically as a property grab offensive, then they also need people out there to create the fog of numbers while the dirty players do what they need to do, and then maybe drag the rest of the poor fools into it that don't know what's going on.
What do you think? Is this like a dry run, or there is going to be some real action? I mean, people are speculating. Of course, we'll never know till it happens, but what do you think? What your gut's telling you?
Well, I think it's real. I think, number one, the reason is like last year was very real. Let's ask everybody a simple question. Mm-hmm. Did the Bundy Ranch happen, yes or no?
Yes, I was there.
And everybody saw the force on the ground, didn't they?
Yeah.
The cattle rustling took place by the federal government.
Yeah.
They pushed women to the ground. They grabbed women and threw them to the ground. In a crowd where there were men my size, these bullies, these parasites, these low knuckle draggers.
Yes.
When they were standing there, did they grab a guy like me? No, they grabbed a woman and turned her upside down, threw her right to the ground. Typical of, again, intimidate or create fear by attacking your women and your children. Now, that was the BLM last year. Now, they eventually, it came down to a final, showdown where, they didn't want to hurt anybody. No, that's BS. It wasn't a peaceful showdown that did the job. It was the fact that everybody there in one form or another was armed. They weren't all armed as combat infantry, but they were armed as free Americans.
Yes, I agree with you. Yes.
And everybody was pointing in the same direction, weren't they, sir? You were right there.
Yeah, I was in front of the line. I'll tell you the truth. As a member of the media, I was with my video camera, but I had my M14 in the car. Simple as that. If I was going to make it back, I'm not going to go down without a fight.
And remember, we don't plan on being victims anymore, do we?
But if they start to shoot at me when I'm innocent and I am disarmed and I'm just trying to exercise my First Amendment, at that point, I'm sorry. The line has been drawn. And nothing I can do. I mean, I'm never going to do the first round. But if they shoot us like a bunch of cows, we have the moral duty to defend our lives. That's all I can say.
Exactly.
But,
and that's where they're in a quandary now because, as of last year. So what we've got is basically a full year has passed. They were trying to decide how quickly they could employ force because in every aspect of what we're seeing now, I don't care, go across the whole spectrum of what we've seen in the last 2 years. 2 years ago, the federal government pushed, the anti-gunners, the federal government is being manipulated by the communists that are in it, pushed to have Connecticut do the gun ban thing and the magazine ban, and they did. New York did the gun ban, and one thing that nobody's talking about is a full total ammunition registration. Now, all of these actions passed 2 years ago, and they have not been enforced. Now, you're talking 100,000 plus people in Connecticut, and Connecticut's a small state. It's a small little, nation state. New York is much bigger, and New York City by itself has a population that dwarfs Connecticut. Well, in neither of these states have they decided to step forward with enforcement. And the bullet, is already in the air. The trigger has already been pulled. So why haven't they proceeded forward? Well, what's happened is they didn't box us in. The regime, in its bravado and bravura process of trying to puff itself up to, terrify everybody with their rhetoric, are now to the point where they either have to shoot us or they have to back off completely, and what are they going to do with the law?
Yeah, I agree. It's going to become...
That's where we are, and nobody wants to really talk about it that way, but that is the fact. The bullet has already left the barrel, and all of a sudden it froze.
Yeah, it's true.
Because everybody has always said, well, if they try to get the guns, okay, well, here we are.
Yeah.
Now, the one thing that gets me is with New York, the ammunition ban last year, this time, 1 year ago, this is April, the complete ammunition registration for New York was supposed to be in place. But nobody from the apparently the technological end wants to step forward and pick up the operation as far as the computing end, because everybody has stated it's impossible. In other words, it will never be accurate. They had 3 different contractors, and none of them had been willing to pick the ball up. So we now have a situation with bad law, with bad, again, wretched creatures behind it trying to push it for the sake of the internationalist police state, and there's no place they can go unless they simply go violent.
And probably they want to set the example, because the Southwest, they know if we go down, the rest of the nation is going to follow pretty much.
Right, and again, at the same time this was happening, we have the overlap with the Bundy Ranch. The Sandy Hook thing, which I believe was completely fabricated. It was all a spook and kook operation.
Yes, we had a guest.
I've seen that from the inside. I'm looking at it now from the outside, and it's no different. And that overlapped with this, and then of course the Bundy Ranch overlaps, and the Bundy Ranch situation. Well, remember, they tell you it's futile to resist, they're all powerful, and then all of a sudden the entire regime had to step back.
Yeah, exactly. That's psychological warfare they're using on us. And also another thing, the time frame. They say it's going to start, in the middle of summer, July, and then all the August or something like that. I believe they're already starting now. I mean, I see already in California, they're already in Ontario, they were National Guard simulating, this sort of fighting the protesters. I mean, boots on the ground. What do you think? This is going to be probably not exactly what they're telling us they're going to do. They're going to do maybe something like normally they do in warfare. They tell you tomorrow we will attack, and they attack probably the day before. What do you think?
Well, whatever they try, first there's going to be a test phase to see if they can start to push and then just work like silly putty and molasses. In other words, the idea is to press and see how many people they can just get to roll over. The little mine situation in Southern Oregon is the best example. There are 2 owners. The one owner basically said, I've had enough. They came and threatened us, and they said they were going to, basically they know the scenario, they burn places out.
Wow.
The guy has explained this on YouTube on an excellent video everybody needs to watch. But the other owner is like, I just want things to go back the way they are. Well, this is what they count on, is they try to create division, and then there's one party who's weaker and will buckle, and they use that as the weak point for the molasses and the silly putty to push through like amoebas.
Yes.
Like an amoeba. And then they use that weak board, and that's how they try to push everybody back. The problem they've got is that weak board isn't going to collapse this wall, because this isn't the 90s, the 80s, or the 70s, or the 60s. This is a different world, and it truly is another century. It's got a lot of the problems that they've created for themselves that they aren't thinking about. First of all, these creatures hate Christians, and they hate Christianity. Now, because of that, they've been attacking Christianity in the school systems, etc. Well, beware, you get what you pay for. Now you've got a lot of people who do not have any of the social mores of Christianity, and they can see the writing on the wall and hate the regime for what it's doing. they're not going to hesitate because they have any kind of concern about, the arguments they've used to keep the Christians in check here when they have played police state.
Mm-hmm.
Those are all gone out the window. So there's a whole bunch of people here that are younger and hard chargers who really look at them as no different from anybody else who would have to be put down because they're a threat. Mm. And there's none of the other concern. It doesn't mean there aren't Christians out there. There are. It doesn't mean that some of these people have Christian values. Well, but they apply them to those people who, they should be applied to, and others who feel that they're beyond all of that, treat them accordingly.
Yes.
And that's where the difference is, and they really haven't understood that they're pressing on an envelope that is not going to collapse. This is not going to buckle the other way, with us retreating.
Mark, what do you think? And according to your analysis, how many troops, mostly supposedly the special forces, or at least that's what they say, beside, of course, the National Guard they're using. What type of numbers are we talking about here between all the 7, 10 states? Now the state seems to pretty much get bigger.
Over the 7 states, the force strength element, a lot of the SF groups are company strength, as far as the elements they're concerned. So that would be anywhere from 100 to 140 men. A percentage of whatever they're fielding are support personnel. They're not directly involved in the fighting. So while you can see a deployment of 20 or 30,000 personnel involved in cooperation, you have to figure that what they're counting on are these special warfare units or even the guard units used as kind of like a surgical strike element. Mm-hmm. Each state would only have a percentage. The problem with this for any type of action inside the U.S. is if we start shooting them, then they have fewer surgeons to work with. And that's the attitude everybody's got to take. If you're going to fight, you fight to destroy the other side. You don't fight to converse with them. You're not going to get any conversation out of them. They're going to try to come in stealth, and they're going to try to, murder or to acquire and, carry away. Well, you can't afford to be acquired and carry away, so you need to fight. And if you fight to do as much damage as you can. Even if you don't kill them, if you blow a leg off something and you wound a whole bunch and you kill the rest, the ones with the legs missing aren't coming back to bother any of your friends, your relatives, your fellow patriots, or whatever. Well, they don't grow them on special, like genetic patch, trees off to the left here. It takes time to build a soldier.
But one question, I want to be sure the listeners understand. Okay, we also on AM. This is not some sort of dramatized talk. We're talking about a movie or we're talking about something just to entertain you. This is real. Let me specify. I'm a very peaceful man. I hate violence. I would not hit a fly unless I have to defend myself. But my point is this one. We are talking about the scenario that there are people who will follow the orders like happened in many other parts of the world during history, and they will get you out in the middle of the night normally, and this is proven also in their documents of Jade Helm 15. They're saying they will operate between, let's say, 11 o'clock at night till 4 o'clock in the morning, the typical time when normally they come and storm your home, for pretty much situation that happened before. Now, every one of us must decide. First of all, my opinion is the moment that they come at your door is already too late. There is no way you're going to win. But at that point, you have a choice to decide if you want to live the rest of your hours, or maybe the rest of your few minutes you have as a free human being, or you want to probably beg on your knees at the mercy of people that probably they may torture you. And people, if you don't believe that, I'm sorry, I already said many times, we are living right now under the National Defense Authorization Act. If the president would authorize a strike, or any of us, right now, me and Mark, we're talking about things protected by our First Amendment, but let me tell you something, just because of our talk or our conversation, we could be labeled domestic terrorists. Potentially, we know any type of due process, we no judge, no jury, no trial, and just because suspected of such status, we could be kidnapped, tortured, and killed. If you don't believe it, just go to see National Defense Authorization Act 2012, and of course 13 and 14. So Mark, this is a serious matter. That's why I'm saying this is not a game. And when Mark is saying things like that, we are not looking for trouble. But if somebody comes at your door with the purpose to kill you or to kidnap you and make you disappear, that's your call. I'm not going to tell you what you have to do, but that's your call, and you must decide. I hope you're not going to be at the door. The moment that they come to your door, I hope you already have a plan. You already had the opportunity to have a plan to organize with your family, your community. What do you think about, Mark? What do you think about this?
The very first thing that needs to happen, number one, is we can't disappear if everybody is connected. And that's where everybody needs to be talking to everybody about this threat. Because organizing, arming, equipping, and training as militia for mutual defense is it was there before this country.
Exactly.
The American Revolution was fought by militia organized before the war started. They were already in place. Again, we just passed April 19th. The shot heard around the world, the anniversary, which is Patriots Day, by the way,
yes,
of Lexington and Concord. Well, those militias didn't just pop up at that minute. They had been organized, and they were organized because of the bureaucracy / the king's men's threat to the livelihood, the safety, and the liberty of the people. And we're in the same situation right now because we have so many layers of alien structure now inside this country that have no business being here. Bottom line is we have an individual in the Oval Office that is totally unqualified by his very position and his birth to be in the position he's in, which makes the last 7 years of this administration illegitimate, which nobody in government wants to talk about.
Exactly.
Because if that's the case, then, for instance, any signature or signing activity by this alien working for this corporation that they've created, because that's really what this is all about, well, this alien, who, of course, does not qualify per the requirements of the Constitution and Bill of Rights of these United States, well, everything that he's done then is null and void.
Exactly.
Which means like, for instance, everybody's worried about the Obama Health Care Act. Well, did he sign it? It's illegitimate.
Exactly.
If he didn't qualify as president, and this is what they're terrified that people will ask the right question, the controlled media is avoiding this. Mm-hmm. Every aspect of what's been done for the last 7 years, in no way, shape, or form, is part of our form of government.
Exactly.
It is something that is followed through. In fact, we now have Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Mark. Go ahead, please. Continue.
Oh, there's a little feedback there. That's what it is. The reason I bring this up is that because all these individuals have an oath of office, they all knew that there were requirements laid down by the Founding Fathers for a reason based upon loyalty. And that is the issue. We have these internationalists, and internationalists are bad for America. It is not that we have never had trade with the world. That's BS and nonsense. Everyone has had international trade. Mm-hmm. Hell, you have to have international trade if you actually decide to build a pencil. If you just looked at what's required to build something as simple as a graphite pencil, you must have international trade to do it, and we always have had. We're a nation of traders. We started out doing that, as in merchants. We dealt with the world before the American War for Independence, though they tried everything they could to restrict it, and did. And afterwards, we virtually traded with the world.
Yes.
So if anybody says, "Well, you guys aren't international, you aren't in favor of trade," oh, I'm fully in favor of trade. But only an idiot or a fool would compromise the sovereignty of the nation state that you are a part of. That, of course, ensures that your wealth is protected. If you have a political philosophy, the objective behind that nation state is to generate a particular protection of that political philosophy. And if the border is not maintained, the state does not exist. And they know that. That's what this whole scam is about, step by step, stupefying the population.
Exactly. And I really believe, this is the point. They need to implement this global government, and America, at least the Americans who still understand what's going on, they need to go down. I mean, we've been talking about that long times. And right now, another piece of information that people must understand. You need to look at this like a puzzle. And maybe you don't want to focus on just one element of the puzzle, because maybe you say, okay, maybe you're just exaggerating after all. The National Defense Authorization Act, after all, that would be enough, by the way, guys. If you understand the gravity of the situation. Now, they could use this military pretty much to knock you out and knock you down, out of your rooms, out of your homes, and you disappear, like happened already in Chile under Pinochet, General Pinochet. But now, for example, another important thing that is there, it's on the White House website, it's not a conspiracy. It's called Executive Order 13603, emergency and non-emergency powers. This is official from the White House website. And if people don't believe me, please go check it out. We have now a man, or at least what it says is a man, acting as a president that pretty much he thinks has a magic pen, okay? He can write miracles. Out of this executive order, pretty much the administration, Obama, under an emergency, they pretty much can be almost everything. The economy could be every false flag they can create. He can pretty much take control of all the water, all human and animal food. That means also your food in your home. All transportation. That means also your cars. All energy. All construction materials. All health resources. All farm equipment. All fertilizers. All fuels and much more. Go read it. So it's like a web. The spider, this black widow, huge black widow, I'm not trying to be funny, it's true, but it's not even black, it's brown, for God's sake. Okay, I wish it was black, at least a real black man. No, it's not even, it's funny even there. But the point is, this black widow is already pretty much, even before him, let's not give him all this credit, it wasn't just Obama. This has been going on at least the last 35, 40 years. But they have all these pieces of executive orders that all they need now is a crisis, and they already have line up, like in a chess game, all the different pawns, and the 7 states, they are ready for martial law. And when martial law comes, means that we are completely slaves, and they can kill you, they can dispose of you, and they can take care of everything you own, it's theirs. The federal government will claim ownership. What do you think about this, Mark? I mean, am I right or wrong?
Well, that is what this, if you think about it, not just us, but in reality, let's look at the economic structure they've set up. We have trillions of dollars of digits that don't exist.
Exactly.
They have been fabricated out of thin air purely by a machine that is running like a whirlpool blender. You throw $1 in, and immediately it is monetized 11 times, 11 times, 11 times, and that same dollar is only worth still $1. That digit they've put in there. Well, the thing is that in the process with the global economy scam, the way it's set up right now, this fictional paper made up of fictional digits has been marketed all over the planet. Well, certain customers have bought those bills.
Yeah.
One of them is China. Now, China is they're communists. They're a corporate monopoly, and nobody likes to hear that if they're a communist. They're a corporate monopoly. That's what they are. They're the only ones that do business within their borders. Others are allowed to come in and play, but they maintain control of it. Well, they also maintain control of whatever they have paper on. They expect payment, or they expect compensation.
Exactly.
And the whole thing about the western part of the country with this thing with the BLM last year was communist China demanding compensation in capital.
Yes, one their assets. We are the assets now, the collateral, okay? That's the bottom line, guys. We must understand that. Now, what do you think about, first of all, this Walmart closing? Is something you think is connected, or maybe just a coincidence? There are 6, 7 Walmarts shutting down, like with no any type of notice, just 5 hours before.
Well, the Walmart thing, people are now debating that back and forth. Here's how it works. We don't have to worry about this cycle with Walmart. We know beyond a shadow of a doubt that proven, almost 15 years ago now, that Walmart has had an ongoing contract with the federal government tied into FEMA. Mm-hmm. Now, they're no different from even the car companies have the same kind of arrangement. We have acres of buildings all over the state of Michigan. It comes into hundreds and hundreds of thousands and then millions of square feet of factory space. Well, the federal government uses it for clandestine operations.
Yeah.
They do it right now. Pontiac Airport, right across from it, there's the old Jeep plant. We're not supposed to know about it. The whole complex, they use it for, they fly into the airport, they drive right down the street. They're blatant and arrogant. They go right into the parking lot, they drive right into the building, the doors open up, the door is shut, they're inside. So there's an example right there of something we could demonstrate, and we have for years. We've brought this up on the air, the programming we've done for as long as it's been going on. Hell, I got photographs of them coming into the airport from the air traffic controllers who were watching them. So there's an example of something that's done on a regular basis. For years, many corporates have had constant contract banner arrangements. It may say Walmart on the outside, but whatever's on the inside could be anybody.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, and that's the whole thing. Walmart has a massive fleet of trucks. They can consign and separate, and they get their little payment off to the side for the use. And if they have a parked fleet of trucks because business is down, which, by the way, most of these companies do, well, those aren't empty trucks anymore. Those trucks are doing, those tractors and those trailers are doing something else.
Exactly.
And Walmart's buildings are the same way. So, yes, I believe, despite what everybody's saying, I know they've got disputes. They always have had labor disputes, et cetera, in this country. Walmart right now is having theirs. But it's not just tied into that. It's in specific areas, and it's the fact that it coincides with this window of activity that makes it very logical that even if this just happens to be because of the timing, that it's convenient, it works into the plan. Walmarts are set up like massive warehouses. Everything's on wheels. In 1 minute, it could be, in one day, it can be Walmart, and the next day it could be a temporary detention facility or a storage facility.
Yes. Mark, I tell you, this is kind of a part is almost exciting, but unfortunately this is not a movie, it's real. I wish things were boring and normal. Like when I came to America, I thought everything was peachy and, coming to the land of the free. But it's also an honor and also a responsibility because this is happening under our watch. If we fail, the next generation, if we lose, they're going to never get up. It's going to be very difficult to get out of this tyranny because they're already brainwashing the new generation to make them pretty much believe that what tyranny is good. And I tell you, I have the sense that something is going to happen pretty soon. Even if this is Jade Helm, it's just a dry run, they do not spend millions of dollars or billions of dollars for such a big-scale operations for just to train. My question is, what do you think? Many people tell me, even if this is true, our soldiers, they will never shoot us. Our soldiers, they will never disarm us. First of all, are we really sure it's going to be our soldiers, number one? Number two, Katrina, it shows us differently. National Guard and some of our soldiers, they were doing exactly following the orders. What do you think?
Well, I think as far as the scenario mapping out the way it is, that's exactly where we're heading with regard to the conflict. With their proceeding with a level of arrogance, the likes of which I don't think we've seen in all the years that we've actually been facing off against the threat. I think it's rather fascinating to me that the bravado element of this is amazing, considering that they don't really have the backing. The other side is wanting to proceed. They feel that they've dumbed down the population enough because, the yes men in Washington got to Washington by being yes men.
Exactly.
So while, they are screwing the brains of a lot of people out there, we got to admit, how many people on Prozac in this country?
Yeah.
And while the public fool system has been, bollocksed up badly, there are enough people that have kind of this contrary minds out there that the numbers are sufficient to counter-strike or to, again, disrupt the agenda, which is what's been going on all along. There's always a certain number of people, despite how many drugs they put out there, either illicit or government-sponsored.
Yeah.
It still hasn't worked for them. I think they're frustrated in that respect. They believe in their isolation that they're at the point where they can go for it. In reality, though, let me give you an example of something that everybody has been talking about here the last week.
Yeah.
They just stated that personal firearms ownership, that right now pro-firearms attitude outnumbers the bad guys officially now, which, by the way, I don't think it ever changed. I think it always has been. Mm-hmm. But they're being forced to acknowledge that people out there believe they need to defend themselves. And it's a combination of things. They see big government going bad, and they see the criminal element the government's doing nothing about.
Yeah, they're part of the government. It's part of the criminals, unfortunately. They start to understand that.
You got to have a scorecard, right?
Exactly. When you start to see, they can confiscate your property without due process. People start to wake up. They can pretty much design you. Designated you like domestic terrorist. And just because suspected, not even a due process, you disappear. I think even my dog gets it now, okay? That's the bottom line. Now, you've been studying this for years. You've been trying to warn us for years. I watched your videos before even I could speak English, for God's sake. I remember that. Now, unfortunately, I wish you were wrong. I wish all this was still away. But maybe part of me, I tell you, I hope it gets as soon as possible, because I'm telling you something. What my fear is The next generation is going to be so brainwashed they would never even understand what they're going to pretty much face. I mean, we still have good people out there. They're still young. There's still enough veterans. There's still enough men and women who understand what we are facing. That at least we can try to stop this. I hope peacefully. I hope we can do it. But regardless, I know many of us, maybe we're not going to make it, but we will try the best. Now, my point is, what is your advice? Maybe the word advice I don't think is right, but your opinion, feedback, suggestion that you would like to give to somebody that pretty much finally woke up and kind of freaking out a little bit, and what do you think should start to prepare for the next 2 or 3 months, this summer, this hot summer?
Most important is, first of all, for a person waking up, step back, take a few deep breaths, and calm down, number one. Mm-hmm. Because a calm mind will respond rather than react.
Exactly.
What you need is response. We're not talking about panicking at any point here. Instead, just the reverse. We are adults. We see the threat. We are educated. We are competent. So what we need to do is look at personal preparedness. And in fact, even if somebody tells me, I don't have that much money, everybody can do something at this time with little or nothing, especially if you just focus a small amount of resource. But even with what you can get in the way of freebies or whatever off the shelf, if you can't buy a water storage system or a purifier, all else fails, fill up as many recyclable containers as you can, stuff that you can get, pop bottles, whatever, and put water on the shelf. It's free, but water is life.
Yes.
Water is, in fact, everybody's talking about this on the internet that they want to control water. Well, why? Because water is life. Everything that each person does individually changes the enemy's math formula for their assumption of how they can manipulate people and within what period of time. The timeline is more critical than anything to understand. There is an A to B, B to C, C to D to E to F step-by-step process that they plan on using. But it's based on the hope that you will not be prepared.
Yes.
If the population had food and water on the shelf, if nothing else, and each group has a little different, it doesn't make any difference. The idea that within 3 days, 3 weeks, or whatever, everybody would be starving, the formula changes. Well, the thing is, everything that we're talking about here with regard to manipulation of the population is based upon reaction and, again, knee-jerk reaction.
Yes.
Response, on the other hand, is where we intelligently look at it. Phase 1, we've already got some preparedness on the shelf. Phase 2 is as we see things really going to hell in a handcart, and right now we have some major warnings, advance your preparedness so that you have more food, more material on the shelf that is useful to you. Then arm yourself to defend yourself, but also to mutually defend each other's interest. This is what nobody focuses on. The Founding Fathers, each man had different interests to a degree, but all understood their common interest with regard to property and personal liberty.
Yes, exactly.
That's the key. We're not going to become animals, and we don't need to become animals. The Founding Fathers, men were fishermen, they were shipbuilders, they were merchants, they were, people of many walks of life. But they understood that the threat to all of their threads of life came together in the idea that the system wanted to tax them for everything that they owned, everything that they did. No matter what they did, it would be spied upon and watched upon. Well, isn't that what we're describing now? And they decided that they didn't have to get to that point to realize they had to stop it from happening, to make sure it did not take place.
Mark,
that's where we all are right now. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You're right. This is so important, guys. I mean, the bottom line is it's millions of us, okay? We may have different opinions, some issues. We may have sometimes we don't like each other. But when it comes down to our lives and our liberties, we must understand that we can stop tyranny. We can stop evil. This cancer would even start the moment that they understand that we are together. What happened at the bandits last year? Just a few hundreds of us as regular people, just because we said no, we'd rather die than pretty much let you take somebody else's property. As you were saying, property, it's connected to freedom, And the first property we have, it's our body. That's the first piece of real estate every one of us has. I don't care if you're rich, poor, whatever. We have our own body, and our freedom is the most important property. So we must stand together. Mark, I was going to tell you something. I've never met you in this life, even, of course, I've been listening to you many times. I listened to your show. You've been a kind of an inspiration for me to learn all these evil things that I prefer to know than avoid, because at least I have a chance to do my part. But I'll tell you, man, I realize that the moment, if this is true, if this is going to happen, you are on their list, probably the top 5, okay? They got top position, like a hit parade. You're going to be between the top 5. I'm going to be pretty much a little lower than you, of course, but I think we're going to be in the same list. And I don't think I'm going to make it to the FEMA resorts, because probably they're going to find me pieces, wherever I'm going to be. I'm not going to comply. But I hope to meet you, man. I hope to meet you in a better situation than this hell one day.
Our goal is to be victorious, and at the end, we might have an eye missing, might limp a little, but the other guys are going to be in worse shape.
Exactly.
Just think about that battle scene from Braveheart. Remember the first battle? You guys act like you're retreating. Swing around to their flank and come up from behind, and we'll meet you in the middle.
Exactly. You're right.
I'll tell you what, you're down there in Arizona, I'm up here in Michigan. We'll just keep beating on them until we meet somewhere around, how about Iowa?
Listen, guys, and for the listeners, probably we shock you a little bit. Oh, my God, what are you talking about, guys? I wish all this talk was a bunch of conspiracy. It's happening. Google Jade Helm 15. Google Obama's executive order. Look, just now, $62 million just last week, the Obama administration, through Homeland Security, they purchased all-point ammunition, $62 million on top of the 2 billion rounds. I mean, guys, if you don't get it now, that's fine. Change channel and laugh at me. I don't care. I'm trying to reach out people that understand. All I'm saying, investigate. Do your researches. Because, not because it didn't happen here, by the way, it did happen here. I remind you that FEMA camps, they weren't called FEMA camps. They were called internment camps for the American with Japanese descendants. American, just because they were different color of the skin, and they were Japanese, or even Germans, or even Italian descendants, during World War II, the piece of socialist crap, FDR, put them in jail, put them in these camps, and ruin their lives, and destroy their businesses. So, yes, the FEMA camps happened before. Unfortunately, it did happen. Now we all can become part of that plan. Not anymore some specific ethnic group like the Indians happened before, and then the Japanese American. Now it's going to be all of us. Patriots, people who believes in freedom, Constitution, Second Amendment. You know the story, guys. I don't need to repeat it to you. So have a plan. And more important, have faith. If you want to have faith, it's up to you guys. But I tell you, I really believe it helped me. And more important, bond with each other. Find your friends. Find like-minded people. Mark, I want to really thank you again, because you're tired, you have a lot of stuff going on, for your help to inspiring others, and to share your information. I want to give you the last 3 minutes. I'll shut up. Whatever you want to say, remind your show, or whatever you want to say, go ahead. Mark Koernke from Michigan, go ahead.
Most important is support broadcasting like this. Luca's doing his part, you have to do yours. In order for that to happen, you need to spread the word. The best thing you can do, pass on how to listen to this program and how to connect with other people of like mind. You're not alone. You're not the minority. You're the majority. The bottom line is, though, that you have to understand and realize your strength as a free American. If we're going to stay free, we're going to have to fight for our liberty. It's that simple. The bullet has already left the barrel. I don't care who it is out there. I want someone to explain to me what happened with Connecticut and what happened with New York. Because remember, those are sitting there right now like the sword of Damocles. Literally. They're the only option. If we heard anything in the news about the discussion, they're going to repeal the laws in Connecticut. They realized they made a big mistake after 2 years. They're going to repeal the laws in New York. Have we heard that?
No.
We haven't heard that. So with that being the case, guys, the bullet's already left the barrel. This is like the Wicked Witch of the West. Remember, she reached for the ruby red slippers, and what happened? I'll fix you, my pretty. So she flipped the hourglass over.
Yes.
And she was coming back, wasn't she?
Yes.
Now, what could she do to Dorothy? If attacking Dorothy the first time got her nothing but electroshock, she obviously had to what? Go reference information to decide how she was going to come back and do in Dorothy? So isn't that kind of a good analogy for what we have going on here? You've got a 500,000 plus fellow Americans, American patriots, who have already said in Connecticut and New York they're not giving up their guns.
Exactly. Mark, one more time, please give your website where people can reach your show and also support you, by the way.
Fiction. This is a reality. You want to know how much of a reality it is? The controlled media has been told not to talk about it. You can talk about anything, and you can flap your yap about whatever you want to in the way to frivolous garbage, but you'll notice after they told everybody, we're going to come out and get you, well, I believe it, but they're going to have to pick a time, and so far, for 2 years, they've been sitting on their hands. If you get a chance in the morning, www.themicroeffect.com. That's www.themicroeffect.com. In the afternoon, www.libertytreeradio.4mg.com. Again, that's www.libertytreeradio.4mg.com. And, yep, we cover all kinds of subjects, have a lot of fun. We do have the sponsors covered in the morning and the evening. Morning, 8 o'clock in the morning, Eastern Time to 11. In the evening, 5 to 7, and then 8 to 9 Eastern Time. And both of those are Monday through Friday.
And thank you for sharing my music. I appreciate it, by the way, to share my message, okay? I really do.
And we're going to be adding more of it, as a matter of fact. We just have to work on, we've had engineering technical issues because we're upgrading, but now all the upgrades are done, so now we're going to be playing DJ work, more than in the past, and your music's going to be heard a lot more.
Perfect.
Beyond a shadow of a doubt.
Which song would you like? I would like to dedicate the show to you and all your crew out there. I mean, normally I like Come and Take It, or whatever you want, Live Free or Die.
I am not afraid.
I'm not afraid. I'll pray for you, Mark. Mark Koernke from Michigan. I love you, brother, okay?
Thank you, and thank you for your music, sir, because it's inspiring. And my wife really loves the album you sent. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Hopefully she likes also the little apron that I sent her. Did she get that?
Yes.
Perfect. Hey, thank you very much. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Lucas Zanna. That was Mark Koernke from Michigan. Stay tuned. Don't go away.
I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid. Yeah, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Your rod and staff, they comfort me. I am not afraid, because you are with me. Na 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 I'm not afraid. 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 I'm not afraid to face the truth. I can see evil in the eyes. Are you ready to stand for good? There's more than just this life. We are living in crazy times. If you believe it's a crime, I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid. Not afraid. I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid. I can smell pain in the air. People are lost in despair. Dark clouds are on the way. I pray for courage every day. I will fight till my last breath. You give me strength to smile at death. I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid. Because you're with me. I'm not afraid. Because I believe in you.
He's a songwriter, a poet, a rifleman,
I'm not afraid.
and a constitutional activist.
I'm not afraid.
Italian by birth,
I'm not afraid.
American by choice. Gianluca Zanna
I'm not afraid.
and his new CD, Love, Guns, and Freedom. 16 powerful songs on one CD from the heart of a patriot. For download or to order the CD, go to www.lovegunsfreedom.com. That's www.lovegunsfreedom.com. Lyrics for your mind, music for your heart. Gianluca Zanna's new CD, Love, Guns, and Freedom.
And you're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Luca Zanna. This is pretty much the final part of the first hour. Don't go away because we have a second hour and third hour loaded with information. I had to rearrange the show this week because I'm sorry, guys. This information of Jade Helm 15, the media, the mainstream media, they are not touching it, and this is concerning. I really believe, even if this is not the real deal, that means it's going to be like a dry run, think about it. They are pretty much spending millions, if not billions, maybe in the long scene. You know, the big picture is going to cost more than just millions of dollars, okay, of our tax dollar to do this type of exercises. It never happened before in American history to do such a mass scale of military operations on U.S. soil, designing states as enemies and blending with us. I mean, think about it. And then we had to look at this all in the big picture. Obama and the plans of the executive orders and the BLM, as Mark was saying, what they've been trying to do and what they're trying to do right now in Oregon. I mean, this is not over, guys. So it's so important. And I'm sorry, guys, you know, put politics for a moment. You know, I'm kind of, we may have disagreement on politics, on socio-economic, but at this point, every one of us, regardless where you stand, left, right, between, doesn't matter. We're all in danger. Because these tyrants, they're not going to look for, oh, are you for Obama or are you for Bush? No. We're all the American people who pretty much believes in different things. We may believe, you know, you may believe in peace. You believe against, you don't believe in these illegal wars. You may believe in the Constitution. You may believe in the Second Amendment. You may be a Christian. Automatically you can become a target, and regardless. This is serious, guys. So I hope it's nothing, but unfortunately the evidence, it's out there. Before I made a mistake, when I say $62 million, no, 62 million rounds of extra 5.56 ammunition for AR-15 or M16 that the federal government just purchased just last week. $62 million on top of the 2 billion rounds. So this is all happening, okay? Now, I'm here, as I said, as an act of love. Don't you think that maybe just being here and talking about these things, even I am nobody, seriously, I'm just what? But you know what? Even probably on the scale from 1 to 10, I am a 1 compared to a Mark Koernke or to an Alex Jones or other people that have been doing this before me. I believe that I'm on target, and I'm one of the targets, and I understand it. I'm telling you guys, my website, www.zanna.us. I sell music there, okay? That's all I do. You know, that's the way I support the show. But guess what? I got visited by the federal government, U.S. government, more than 50 times. I can see through the IP address. And by Homeland Security. I mean, I can see this. I've been visited by the Chinese government more than 300 times the last month. You know, in China, you cannot really go. You cannot break the big Great Wall on the internet unless you are one of the government. You know, they can probably, regular Chinese citizen cannot have access to a site like mine. So something's going on. I understand. I'm not naive. And I don't think I'm going to make it true if this happens. I'll try my best. I'm not going to pretty much say, okay, come and get me and give me whatever you want to do to me. No, I will not comply. But I understand. If I'm on that list, and I really do believe I am, like many of you guys, even listeners, I'm not going to coward. I'm not going to go down without pretty much a struggle. Because this is also in my dignity as a human being. I'm not that concerned only about my life. I'm concerned also about my dignity as a human being, as an American. I won't become anybody's slaves. Okay, slave. That's the bottom line. But I hope we can avoid it. I don't want violence. I don't want to shoot anybody. I also hope that our soldiers, they will understand the oath of office to defend this Constitution and this Republic. Because this already happened in history. Okay? It already happened. The soldiers, they were pretty much took over. And they were used against their people. I mean, come on, guys. Okay? So, come on. We gotta really start to think. Unfortunately, you can ignore reality. That's up to you. Okay? I don't want to convince you. I'm not here to convince anybody. Okay? I don't get paid. I don't get paid, period. I just get paid by your support if you want me to. But the point, I'm here as an act of law. I'm trying to warn you up. All I'm saying, you can ignore the reality, but you will never be able to ignore the consequences of reality. Have a plan. Try to prepare yourself. Wake up your fellow neighbors. Take care with your family. Stay close to your family, but also have a plan. And don't think that, when they come at my door, I'll take care of it. No, it's already too late. When they come at your door, it's going to be already too late. The only thing you can do is pretty much at least let them know that you're not going to go down. You're not going to follow them in their trucks or wherever they're going to try to bring you, if even they want to bring you. Now, back to this plan. A second hour, exciting guest, and a lot of information, Sometimes it's overwhelming, all this, I must tell you. But I'm here, I'm trying to do my best, and I appreciate your support, I really do. As I said, if you want to support the show, you don't need to be millionaire, you don't need to be rich, you don't need to do anything. 99 cents, seriously, guys. I do my best to bring you the best information that try to help you out, try to unite us. I don't care which party you are. I have no more parties. I became an independent. I believe in the truth. I believe in the Constitution. I believe in freedom. Simple as that. Now, if you want to support the show, there is a way, simple way. The price, less of the price of a coffee, 99 cents. Go to my website, Zanna, ZANNA.us, okay? Or go to lovegunsfreedom.com. There is the music section. You can download any of my songs for just 99 cents. Or you can do one, and then ask you for a favor. After you download the song, if you can really help me out, produce a little YouTube with a message. Most of my songs, they are with a message, okay? And produce a YouTube. I give you my blessing, okay? And put it out there. And try to share with everybody you can. And try to wake up as many people as you can. Sometimes, people may not want to read books, but maybe a song can give them some keywords to try to wake them up. That would support the show and would get this message as loud as possible. Now, as I said, there is also final hour. I had to change everything today. This is so important. We'll talk about geoengineering, chemtrails, and more important about freedom of speech. I have a couple guests from Lake Havasu, and I think something we need to really talk about a little more, okay? Second hour is going to be more about militia with a special guest. Don't go away. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Lucas Zanna on United States.fm network, and of course also on KTOX 1340 AM. Ciao.
You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Lucas Zanna on United States.fm network. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Lucas Zanna on United States.fm network.
Here we go. Hour number 2. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Lucas Zanna. This is the hour normally I talk about guns, training, Second Amendment, and I will stick to that. Today I want to bring a different type of guest. We're not going to talk mostly just about the training part, but we will talk about the concept of the militia. I talked about this before with several guests. We had Mark Koernke here, and we had other people that they're really into the historical role of the militia. But now I wanted to talk about with a guy that I really like. On top is not just a regular guy. The guy is a veteran, is a man, and also is an activist. It means activist means that he's active in trying to share information that normally you wouldn't get through the regular, media, through an independent form of media, the internet. He has also a great internet magazine in Northern Arizona, and we'll talk about that. So it's kind of very important this hour because we need to be prepared. We must be prepared. Things are happening, and I will talk more in details with my guest. This is no more just some sort of exciting moment, after dinner or after lunch, you want to talk about stories like Red Dawn. Unfortunately, if you still don't understand, if you still don't see the signs on the wall, the painting on the walls, whatever you want to call them, we are really living in a different type of America, and everything could happen right now. So we must have a plan as fast as we can, and more important, we must understand the function, the role of the American citizen militia. That is not a bad word, but it's the word that pretty much founded on its own blood this republic. My guest today is Glen Davis from Williams, Arizona. Glen, are you there?
I'm here.
Nice to meet you, man. I really kind of find interesting the internet because, I don't know how we found each other, but I found you, you found me, but I found your magazine, that's for sure. And I was so surprised when I found a different type of outlet. Let's try to bring news that normally you don't find in the regular newspapers. Let's talk, please, a little bit about your magazine before we start. What is the name of your e-magazine and when you created it, and a little bit about that?
Well, it's Northern Arizona Gazette.com. Originally, and I still do, news about the Grand Canyon, Williams and Flagstaff areas, Ash Fork. I'm trying to spread out and get, as much as I can. I also did, the difference between me and the local newspaper is I also put in state. I cover state issues such as bills that are going through Congress, the state legislature and stuff. And I also cover national legislation and whatever I think that people, the kind of information they might not be getting up here that they might want. I kind of know my readers. It seems a bit, it's been on for a few years, and this last year it shot up. I got a lot of hits, and this year I'm almost I've almost reached last year's statistics, so it's growing.
Great. No, and that's great. I remember there was an article that you covered. I did a video maybe a year ago when the Kingman Police Department got this big MRAP. Was one of the first one in our county, and I did a little video on YouTube, and you were able to catch it and write an article. And I think you did a great job and put it out as a format of news. So that was pretty much the way, I guess, we started to cross each other. Now,
and
go ahead.
That's the thing, I want to get out about this militarization, especially in the metro areas. I've not, when I was a kid growing up, it was Adam 12, and nowadays they're,
And let's talk a little bit about you because, you have an interesting background. You're a veteran. Tell us a little bit about what exactly, in which branch of the armed force you served and how long and what did you do, what you were doing.
I was in the Navy for 17 years and in the Army for 6 months. I was a cop. Mm-hmm. And I worked for the Provost Marshal, so I was technically transferred to the Army. Anyway, for 17 years I was on 2 ships, one on the West Coast, one on the East Coast. The USS Oldendorf, I commissioned it, and the USS Yorktown. And they both are gone now. They were used as targets. That shows you how long I've been out of the Navy. Mm-hmm. But I had a real enjoyable time. In fact, Gaeta, Italy was one of my favorite spots we used to hit. And I've been all around the world and done all sorts of interesting stuff. We used to do stuff in peacetime. This is what people don't realize is we do stuff in peacetime that, like, we went into the Black Sea. One of my big moments was we went into the Black Sea, mm-hmm. and the Russian Navy came out to meet us and shouldered us, or they rammed us, but they called it shouldering. If you look up USS Yorktown on the YouTube, I was one of the guys that videotaped the whole incident.
Wow.
That was kind of interesting.
When was that? Which year was that, approximately? When was that?
Oh, that was, darn. I want to say about 1987. Mm-hmm. And it was around February. I actually just got my enlisted surface warfare qualifications when that happened.
That was
a couple of days before
1 year before I came to America. I was still in Italy. In 1997, I was still there. You were in the middle of the sea. That was interesting. You know, we were in two different parts of the world.
In the peacetime, it's a lot of, there's a lot of fun, but there's a lot of stuff that goes on that people don't realize.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we were assessing terrorism before it became popular, So,
question now, you pretty much retired, I guess, or at least you retired from the armed force.
Right, 20 years now, actually.
Yeah, 20 years, wow. You came back here pretty much into our world, and you start to reassess and start your life. Now, I know that you wrote a book that I think is very interesting, at least is an e-book format that you sent me. It's called Concerning the Militia. Title stolen from Alexander Hamilton. I like that. Anyway, that's your book, okay?
Right.
And, I've been talking about the militia many times, several times, and I really think it's something that every American should at least know. Doesn't mean that you want to or you must be part of it, but we should all know that the militia is not a bad word. Militia is pretty much the foundation of this republic. We did not have a standing army. Our founding fathers, they were afraid of a standing army. They wanted to have regular citizens that pretty much they were able to repel invasions or taking care of local situations, emergencies, and of course even to go to war if they have to defend their freedom. And that was pretty much the idea. Now, government, the last 20, 30 years, they've been pretty much trying to demonize it. And I know why. I mean, even an immigrant like me understand why. Because they want to pretty much have us completely individual, separated, not organize it, and never thinking that we're going to stand up together to defend our republic and our Bill of Rights and our property rights. We are pretty much in this situation. In my opinion, we've been invaded already. So this is my personal analysis. But tell me a little bit about this book. What did you exactly cover in this book? And why did you get inspired to write this book? I mean, it's still a kind of interesting work. I mean, you spent some time here. I see there's a lot of good information here, over 220 pages. Please.
Yeah, it's concerning the militia. It's actually self-published on at lulu.com. And I also have several other works there that are either from Project Gutenberg or my own. And what happened was I met the local gun shop guy here.
Mm-hmm.
And used to be a guy ran the radio station called Bob Hardy. A lot of people up here know him and will probably remember the name. Anyway, that's how I met the gun shop guy, and we started talking, and I found out he was a Christian, I was a Christian, and we started talking about Bible, and then getting into the idea of what the militia and guns were all about. And so I started this notebook. He'd ask me a question, and I'd go research it for him.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it started out as, and it turned out I had so much material I just decided to turn it into a book. And I've actually gone through most of the Supreme Court decisions on this on the militia and various other things. And
so you bring a lot of also, not just, of course, it's our right of self-defense, and in the Second Amendment it's already there spelling it out. They pretty much define also the militia part, okay? But it also you go through the history, through the legislation, and also I think through the different type of judicial decision, that
right.
pretty much reaffirm this right of the citizen to defend ourselves and our republic.
Exactly, and that's the Federalist Paper number 29. And I call these the government-approved Federalist Papers because these are the ones by the 85 that were written by John Jay, Alexander Hamilton, and James Madison.
Mm-hmm.
But people don't realize there were a lot more Federalist and anti-Federalist papers.
Mm-hmm.
So when I refer to the Federalist Papers, I usually say the government-approved, so I'm not talking about one of the others. But the government-approved Federalist Paper number 29 is concerning the militia. That's the title of it. And that basically breaks down what the militia is. Now, if you go to, I believe it's 24 through 29, Alexander Hamilton goes through all the why we need these various defensive, things. And the militia, his argument was the militia being controlled by the United States government isn't a bad thing. And at the time, the whole idea was they had West Point, but they had officers that were there to study warfare, and when a war came up, they would take over the militias. And in fact, that's what happened in 1812. In the War of 1812, was that they actually took over and directed the militias that were available at the time. In fact, I believe I've read stories where James Madison actually came out and directed some of the artillery fire. They said he wasn't a very good shot, but but that's the way it was supposed to happen.
But now, I want to play, the I don't want to call it stupid idiot, devil's advocate question, because, I believe ignorance can be fixed. Sometimes people, they're just lacking information. But, sometimes...
Exactly.
And I want to be open to that. But, let's say I want to play the typical NPR listener. And I have nothing against some listeners, they're smart. But some, I'm telling you, man, I can stand the tone of voice. Hi, this is NPR. Today we'll talk about whatever foundation they have. Plus, we will steal more of your tax dollar. Let's talk how we can confiscate guns. Okay, that's pretty much all political stuff on our tax dollar, okay? So, please, if somebody listen to NPR is a smart person, forgive me. But if you're the typical average NPR listener, now, at this point, I would expect this question. Why do we need a militia? No, this is not the tone of voice they use. Why do we need a militia? After all, the government is going to take care of us.
Okay, I'll give you a real good example.
Exactly. Did I do okay? Right now, the part of the NPR kind of soft voice question was okay.
Yeah, that'll work.
Perfect. Go ahead.
But I can give you a perfect example. Right now, 8 miles from the border, Judicial Watch and several other people have picked it up, including Northern Arizona Gazette. 8 miles from the Texas border, there is a town called, and I don't have it up, and I know I'm gonna blow it. Juarez with a J. I can't remember the name of the city.
Anyway, it's a little town.
Anyway,
Juarez,
in Chihuahua.
Yes.
And there are ISIS cells, and the Mexican government knows about it, and they reported them to the U.S. So we should have the ability to go down the border and make sure they don't cross. That's exactly what the militia was designed for, to go down and protect the border. See, the only reason for an army is to go over there. If you look at the Constitution, there's only two military type services specifically authorized by the Constitution for continuous use: U.S. Navy, and by extension the Marines, and the militia. They required that every 2 years Congress decide whether they need an army.
Yeah, right.
Okay. And that's where we get this NDAA, National Defense Authorization Act, every 2 years to reauthorize the Army and all that. But the point is, the Navy and the Marines were for use out there across the seas to protect our shipping. They were not meant to be used in the United States, nor was an army. And so, technically, constitutionally, if you want to look at it that way, because the Supreme Court says that fundamental rights and things like that are based on our traditions. Well, our traditions is, if we need an army to protect our borders right now, the militia would act until they were built up enough to do that. That's what the Continental Army was. It started out as a militia,
Exactly.
And they became the Continental Army. And what happened when when the war was over and Washington was elected, what happened? It was disbanded, except for the West Point.
Mm-hmm.
And when people talk about the Second Amendment should only be muskets, well, let me look at that. Let's look at that a bit. First of all, one of the arguments that liberals use, or I hate to use the term liberal because you know why.
Because it's a funny thing. They are not liberals. They are both sides completely. Just people who don't like freedom.
Right.
That's simple as
Let me say progressives.
Yes.
Because that's the appropriate term.
Yes.
Liberals actually means believing in limited government.
Exactly.
Whereas progressive actually means going beyond the Constitution. So anyway, Washington disbanded the Army, and progressives like to say, they didn't envision automatic weapons. Well, first of all, then, they didn't envision them for the standing army, I can tell you that.
Yeah.
But the point is, you're telling me they looked at history, they knew history, they went from knives to gunpowder to smoothbore rifles to rifling. Rifling was invented in the United States during their time, so they knew weapons would progress. And in fact, they knew that so much, Washington set up the Springfield Armory to develop new weapons for the people and the militia to buy.
Excuse me to interrupt you. To keep it simple, the right of the people to keep and bear arms. He didn't say what type of arms, okay? Everything that could be used for the individual. I already can see the idiot coming, and I had few on my show. Oh, now what do you want, a bazooka? Yeah, first of all, the bazooka I think would be a good tool because it's still something limited to the individual, okay? But what do you want next, the nuclear bomb? No, that's different. That's a mass destruction weapon, okay? Weapon of mass destruction. So everything that the typical infantryman from a foreign government or from our government is able to carry, let's say a rifle, machine gun, handguns, whatever, okay? It could be also a big caliber, anti-tank, whatever that you can maneuver. That would be our right. And we used to have that. Before 1934, we pretty much could have everything the Army had without permits, okay, without federal license.
In fact, it's funny you should mention that. They had when Piers Morgan was popular, I don't know why, but when he was, he asked that question, well, what do you want, a bazooka? And I put on my site, I said, well, that's possible, that's legal, but actually I'd rather have an RPG because it's a much more updated piece of equipment.
Exactly.
If you're going to argue, it's like Bloomberg argued about assault rifles, and he was talking to some news guy, and the news guy pointed out and said, hey, by the way, assault rifles are automatic weapons.
Exactly, with a selector switch. We don't have that.
Right, the AR-15 that you're talking about is a semi-automatic. Shouldn't we be using the right terms? And just blew Bloomberg away. It was funny, Bloomberg or whatever.
But they know, these people, they know very well what they're doing. This is not about, they're not ignorant. They have master's degree from universities. They're more articulate probably than me and you put together, multiplied by 10. They think they're almost like some sort of gods, and we're just serfs. They're smart. They're probably that they're evil, and they have an agenda. And the simple agenda is very simple.
Well, actually, in a lot of cases, unfortunately, there are well-intentioned people that pick up, go through the college.
You're right. They have the useful idiots. I agree. They have the useful idiots. Otherwise, this couldn't work. Right. But the top, the top managers or the top leaders into this sort of a tyrannical agenda, they know very well what they're doing. And they just have only one goal: to disarm the slaves. because they look at us like slaves, okay? And once you take away from the slave the weapon, there could be also a pitchfork. I mean, remember that, forget about the weapons now. We're talking about I studied a little bit of Irish history. I mean, there were people that were left just with this pikes, okay, nothing. I mean, not even the wood could have, because they could create pikes. They were a completely disarmed population. So then they can take your property, they can take your homes, they can take everything they want, your wives and dogs included. Seriously. Okay?
Right.
That's pretty much what they want. And people say, oh my, you're really extreme, you're exaggerating. Really? Should I remind everybody now?
It's history. It's happened.
It's already happened. It's happened here again. Let's talk a little bit with you. You're kind of a very smart guy. You follow in the news, of course. I mean, why you think we should have right now a federal government that out of the blue in the next few weeks, I'm talking about starting from June probably, I think they already started it, they are launching this mass, huge military training on U.S. soil, blending in with the population, and we're talking about more than 10 states, and some of the states have been designated like enemies, okay, like Utah, like Texas. This is Jade Helm 15. Why out of the blue they need to do that on U.S. soil? What is your opinion? After all, you're a veteran.
Well, the operation text says that Texas isn't hostile. It's been taken over by a hostile force, is what their scenario is.
Yeah.
And they've got to go in and save Texas, and I think it's Utah, whatever. How they got from Texas to Utah without getting through Arizona, I don't know. But anyway, that's the theory. That's the idea, is that they're going back to save Texas. And because you don't want to say that Texas is hostile, because that would put it in people's mind. But so you say you're going in to save Texas.
Yeah, they save us, right. But my question is, how many times, you were born here, I wasn't. I came just in 1998. So I can tell you only what I learned since then. How many times happens such a huge mass-scale operation where you have all the different type of branches of the military, but more important, we're talking about special elite groups, not just the regular infantry guys, okay?
Well, the first thing is, I've been out for 20 years. In the 17 years I was in the Navy, I never saw an operation of this size. We did Marine landings, okay, and in fact, Washington Compost, I think it was, that had an article that says, well, we shouldn't do it because the Navy lands people on the beach in Florida all the time. Well, first of all, they're not landing to take out the civilian or take over the civilian populace. They're not landing with internment people or equipment to build internment camps. Their attack is to go, like in World War II, where they had to skip across the Pacific Islands and take them one at a time. This is what the Navy and the Marine Corps trains for, to do their operations. They're training here to do their operations out there, not in the United States. Okay, number one. Number two, I've talked to recently discharged vets, and they said they have never seen anything like this. They've done operations off base for certain specific things. Like one friend told me that they had to learn how to climb these icy cliffs, and they couldn't do it on the base, so they went out to Vermont. Okay, that's understandable.
Yes.
And that was in his time as the National Guard, not in the Army. He said when they did their urban attacks in the Army, they did them on base.
Exactly. They got plenty bases. We have plenty bases, I mean, and also, we need to look at pretty much at 360 degree. We cannot just tunnel vision just looking at the finger in front of our nose. I mean, let's look pretty much the big scenario. First of all, Obama. That says it all. Okay, I mean, I don't care.
Right.
And I'm not talking about guys, I have a lot of people that they used to vote for him and finally start to wake up. We're talking about Mr. NDA. I call him Obomba, okay? This guy is more warmonger than Bush and his father Bush put together. Okay, look just at the record. But regardless, we have a man that pretty much is being proven with his record that is completely, incarnation of a tyrant, okay? He's acting as by decree, by executive order, and we know very well his background. This guy is a plant. And I even think he's a communist plant. This guy is a plant for the international bankers. And then he wants to try to paint himself like, sharing wealth. Yeah, sharing to the international bankers, to the corporation. But that's another story. But Obama, just right there. Then we have Homeland Security pretty much that the last few years went out of control, not just with Obama, we're talking also with Bush, to be fair, because he started the program. And billions of rounds.
Patriot Act.
Exactly, the Patriot Act, billions of rounds, armored vehicle everywhere, the militarization of police. Finally, I hope people can start to see it. Then we have, of course, with Obama, the National Defense Authorization Act that I never can be tired enough to explain it or to remind it. I mean, this is pretty much the scariest thing, like talking about Chile during the General Pinochet. You can be, me and you right now, Glenn, we can be taken over, load up in a truck if we even make it alive, and disappear with no trial, indefinitely detention, like slaves. Correct?
Well, yeah. In fact, when he originally signed this, I think it was 2012?
2012, yes.
No, 2012 was the first one. He said, well, I'll sign this, but my administration will never do this because, it's totally against our American traditions and Constitution. Well, he's proven he doesn't believe in the Constitution.
Yeah.
So that's out the window.
Exactly.
But he just reauthorized it, I found out, this March.
Yes.
This last month.
Yes, last month.
And no signing statement. No saying that he wouldn't use it. So
they're using it. Remember, let's not forget that there was Al-Awlaki, this guy, American person that, of course, is an Arab blood, and he used to work with the Pentagon, and he was found also on Fox News. I forgot his first name. Last name is Al-Awlaki, that he was collaborating with the Pentagon. He was having dinner at the Pentagon. Then, of course, he was taken out by a drone. But more important, his son, an American citizen, 16 years old young man. He was in Yemen, I guess, and he was taken out with a drone. That was one of the few first cases of the application of the National Defense Authorization Act to kill American citizen without a trial. That says it all. And guys, if you think, I have nothing to hide, I'm a good person, first of all, don't be an idiot, seriously. If you want to give that type of absolute power to maybe some bureaucrat in the administration, any administration. Now, just because you think that's your guy, that he has a donkey instead of an elephant on his ass, you're going to think that you're sleeping safe at night? Think about it, guys. Well, next time could be a Bush, could be whatever. But the point is, mistakes can be done. That's why we have a due process, or we used to have a due process.
Right. Well, the guy that tells me, if you don't have anything to hide, I say, fine, let me go walk in your house.
Yeah, let's go.
Let me just go walk in your house in the middle of the night and look around. You don't mind. You don't mind if I sit there and watch you and your wife in bed, do you?
Or maybe
How about if I watch your kids sleeping?
Yeah.
It's not the point that I have anything to hide. It's you don't have the right to know what I'm doing in my house.
And unfortunately, that was the Patriot Act. We already passed that. Our Fourth Amendment is gone. The Patriot Act pretty much, they can not just confiscate property and detain you, but more important, they can completely ignore the Fourth Amendment. They can spy on you and sneak and peek, local law enforcement. They can all do that now, easily and legally. But the worst part now, the National Defense Authorization Act, forget about spying. They can pretty much knock you down, put you in a black SUV or a black truck, and you disappear forever, never having access to a judge, jury, and lawyer. If somebody still doesn't believe this is true, and probably you're driving the car and you're laughing and smirking, please do me a favor. Just do a favor to yourself and your family, and more important, to your children. Go to check it out. Google ACLU, National Defense Authorization Act. I'm not a fan of the ACLU, but at least on that one they got it right.
Yeah, I was going to suggest that. You can go to just about any legal website.
Yeah.
And they all mention the same thing. Dianne Feinstein even, and Schumer and several other Democrats, you can look this up. This is national news. It's not, anything hidden. They all submitted amendments to get rid of the ability to take Americans and put them in a prison camp.
Mm-hmm.
And those amendments all failed.
Yeah.
So if people like Feinstein are concerned about it, I think, you progressives ought to kind of think a little bit about it.
Exactly.
And just, look at your own people, what your own people are doing.
And let's look also, as I said, we need to look at this all together, okay? So different angles. So we have the National Defense Authorization Act. We have Obama. We don't need any extra words. Then we have, of course, the militarization of police. Now we know every little town, every county pretty much is more armed than our soldiers in Iraq. Armored vehicles, military weapons. I mean, it's never happened in America before, okay? Then, let's look, for example, at the purge of our military, okay? We have more than 200 high-level brass, generals, colonel, I mean, people that pretty much they've been in the service as a career people. They've completely been fired by Obama. Gone.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is something that doesn't happen every day. And normally it happened in history when Hitler was cleaning up pretty much the house after he took power.
Oh,
okay.
A better example than that is look at just before World War II when Stalin.
Yes, exactly.
The Russians originally started losing the battle of Russia in World War II because they didn't have enough experienced officers because Stalin purged them all.
Exactly.
And then he stopped and they finally started fighting and getting back. Now, Russians are not cowards. They're not weak people. They're fighters.
Mm-hmm.
And it just that their leadership had been wiped out. So all these guys had to get back into it and learn new strategies and get their people. And they wound up, of course, beating the Germans back. And then Stalin, right after the war, Stalin started purging people again.
Exactly. And now we have, this is happening right now. It already happened. And then we have, for the first time in history of this country, we have a civilian agency, or at least was supposed to be a civilian agency, like the Department of Homeland Security, that pretty much is becoming like the new armed force on U.S. soil with a complete... we're talking about billions, at least 2 billion of rounds. I mean, even in 30 years war, you could spend all this type of ammunition. And just a few days ago, the Department of Homeland Security, it just purchased 62 million more rounds for the...
Of AR-15 ammo.
Exactly. And then, the ATF, what it's been trying to do. And then I give you another piece of puzzle that I talked about last year. Obama, by executive order, for the first time in American history, he blocked the importation for a civilian use of great rifles. They were from Korea and mostly, from the Vietnam area, whatever, even World War II, that we gave with our tax dollar to our allies around the world, and they were the M1 Garand and M1 Carabine. And the excuse was, no, we civilians must not have this type of weapons because they're too dangerous. Meanwhile, of course, we give weapons to ISIS and to the Syrian rebels. 2 years ago, people go Google it up. So that's the story. We look at all this stuff. And
don't forget the Mexican drug cartel too.
Exactly. Then there was they got caught. I know people still want to laugh about it because Obama is cool. That's fine. But Fast and Furious is a reality. Okay, we've been. I mean, not we, but the Obama administration has been arming the Mexican drug cartels, and only God knows. Now we look at all this. We look at the fact that pretty much we are getting close to World War III because we are putting us, I would like to say to all the people that believe in Obama and you profess yourself liberals and you were criticizing Bush when Bush was for all these illegal wars that I completely agree with you guys on that one. I was the first one to try to point it out in the Republican Party when I used to be Republican, but regardless. Now, why don't you look at Obama, what he's been doing? Libya, Syria, and then we have Egypt, and involvement in Yemen, and all these things that completely out of control. Okay?
Yeah.
And why don't we say anything about it? Now, we're going through Ukraine. What business do we have to be mingling in the Russians' business next door, Ukraine? But we're going to face the potential moral scenario that we are going to be morally on a low level. I mean, if you go to war and you are morally on disadvantage, that means you're morally broke. I mean, war is supposed to be to defend ourselves, not to go into interfere with somebody else's business. Then when they come after you, you're going to look like the bad person that you are. And I really believe this man is doing everything he can, first of all, to put us in a very much state of inferiority, keeping our morale of our soldiers low, disarming us, and more important, put us in endless and completely, these wars, they're going to bleed us to death. Okay?
Well, I'm sure you're familiar with Machiavelli.
Yes. The prince.
Exactly. And in there he says, you don't want to disarm all the people, he says, because that'll make them mad. And I'm paraphrasing quite a bit because I don't have it in front of me, but he says you basically want to arm the people that are going to shoot for you.
Exactly.
So you notice he gave a lot of pink slips in the field to soldiers serving over in Afghanistan with distinction. All of a sudden, you're fired, go home.
Exactly. So this is so serious, guys. I mean, there are people that they're never going to see it, no matter what evidence you bring to them. They're like the last days in the bunker with Hitler. You know, Hitler had these idiots too. If he even make it to the bunker, Hitler, I don't know, but that's another story.
Well, I think I have had conversations with people, and they look at me like I'm nuts. But then when they go out and they explore for themselves, I can tell they're kind of picking up.
Exactly.
So one thing you can do is, maybe your neighbor's progressive, you've been over to you knocked on his door and opened it up and he's watching PBS,
yes.
news, and you realize, okay, this guy's probably not awake. But you get him to a barbecue, your kids play with his kids, so on and so forth. And you start talking, just a general conversation. And that's one way to do it. If you come off with a bravado attitude, they're going to turn around and walk,
Oh, I agree. My attitude is the same. I've tried to approach my fellow Americans, regardless that we have agreement on socioeconomic or no. I mean, this is about right now, it's an emergency situation, okay? And I try to be there not to be right. I wish everything we are talking here, we are just wrong. As simple as that. But the problem is time is short, and there is not much more time to mess around. And we try to bring facts, at least the keywords for the evidence. Every one of you guys, listeners, I hope you can do your researches. That's all I hope. But the point is, when you start to see this is real, I mean, now, Walmart, that out of the blue, we have more than 6 Walmarts, or at least 6 Walmarts, during the same time of this Jade Helm 15 operation, they're shutting down for 6 months. I mean, there are too much evidence there that something smells, something stinks.
Well, there's been a rumor for a while that Walmart, I've heard this a long time ago, that Walmart had a government contract as the distribution points for national emergencies.
Yes.
I don't know that I've confirmed that or anything, just a rumor. But, from what it sounds, that sounds pretty close, and that's kind of.
Let's find out something.
It's suspicious. It's not
6 months, exactly. 6 months for Walmart, $1 billion, $1 trillion industry. I mean, shutting down more than 24 hours. They don't even shut down in Christmas time, for God's sake. I mean,
right.
This is insane. So there is something cooking, guys. That's why the militia. Let's go back to the militia. For people that already are aware, something is brewing that is not good. And I wish to be wrong. Sometimes I just wish I get up in the morning and I'm here in America, the way America I dreamt when I left Italy. Everything's pretty okay, and nothing's perfect, but at the end of the day, it's still America. No, guys. We've been invaded. We've been occupied. And unfortunately, this is not more about differences of opinion. They're not just stealing our tax dollar. I hate when people say, we agree to disagree. No, you agree to disagree to steal my money. We can disagree about the color of what type of color you like or what football team you like. But now they're disagreeing that they want to steal more of your money. We passed that. That's even worse now. We're talking about now physical violence against us. People that pretty much that we don't want to comply with this new agenda, with this new global totalitarian, socialistic, new world order agenda. And let's not forget, in the past 30 years, they already said what they wanted to do to us. Did you ever heard about the Bill Air, Weather Underground FBI infiltrator that pretty much on this documentary, I think was.
Yeah, so, I think I heard about it a couple months ago, or about a year ago.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that I play a few times on my show, and this is kind of chilly. And that's why I say, guys, for people that they're aware, let's talk about what can we do. What can we do according to your experience as American and also as a veteran in our community to prepare for what's coming? What would you do?
Well, actually, that's a good question. And here's what you can do. First of all, study just the basics about the militia. See, a lot of people get confused on the Dick Act because they say the Dick Act can't be revoked and all this other stuff. Well, first of all, what the government giveth, the government can taketh away. Period. I mean, they can just close. In fact, there's always talk about a currency reset, which may or may not occur around the middle of July. But what that means is the way they got the currency set up now, they can just make your bills worthless, period. And you have to use your card or maybe, whatever to get money or to make transactions so that they can track you. But the one thing you can do is understand the militia, what it really is. Look at the Federalist Papers, 29. Look at the history of the United States. If you're in an area where you're, you got kind of a neighborhood that's awake, get together. One guy can start stocking up on medical supplies and storing them, or maybe two people, so you have it spread out a little bit. Another guy can work on food stuffs. Another person on, tents, whatever. You guys divide up the responsibilities, and that way you have the stores available. And if you can spread them out, the further you can spread them out, of course, the better. As long as you can get together and move them, when you need to move. But that's one thing you can actually set up. And not only that, let's say you have an emergency, just a national emergency. That's the other part of the militia. It's not just a wartime thing. When you have a natural disaster, you'll have those stores ready to
Katrina.
to help.
Katrina,
Right.
or the riots.
Exactly.
Even a fire. Let's say there is a fire in your neighborhood, and you need to have people that there are a little bit of preparation with a plan how to act without think too much. That's why it's called preparation, training. Could be everything. Tomorrow could be a tornado. That's the way the man is say, okay, now instead of just be minding only about my business, about my family, I want to help my fellow neighbors. That's simple as that. Now,
and that is exactly what the militia mentality is supposed to be. And the thing they do that really bothers me is especially the Southern Enriched by Taxpayer Dollar Law Center. They always say the KKK militia or the skinhead militia or the Aryan militia. Those are not militias.
they're gangs.
They're gangs.
Exactly. This is exactly part of the propaganda because they want us completely isolated, alone, going back from your work, straight to the television room, having your GMO food, watching the stupid 3 hours of propaganda that pretty much puts you in state of zombie land, and then drinking some water with fluoride before you go to sleep, wash your teeth with some extra fluoride, and get a couple of psycho drugs just to make it better and go to sleep. And tomorrow go back to work. And after 10 years you live in that neighborhood, you don't even know the name of your neighbors. That's the what I want us, completely like that. But we must be the opposite. We must be aware, educated, and more important, willing to help in each other. As simple as that. That's for me the militia. Now, let me play this one because this is for me one of the most powerful. Sometimes people need to be awake a little bit and maybe they used to laugh at this type of documentary. The name was Larry Great Wall or something like that. And this is a documentary on CBS, I guess. Let me just play it. I played already many times, but this is very important, especially now that we think about Jade Helm 15, think about Obama, think about Cuba, now is a friend, think about China, owns our debt, and pretty much they are already stationed in Hawaii. Think about FEMA, that as an agreement in 2013, I think it was Christmas, with the Russian military to use military troops on U.S. soil for any type of emergency. Meanwhile, we're playing, this little funny game with Ukraine. FEMA is cutting a deal with the Russian militaries. Let's listen to this. Larry Great Wall became a member of the Weather Underground Organization, Bill Air, Obama's friend, and as an undercover operative for law enforcement agency in Cincinnati. And now he says something that pretty much his role within the organization was to carry directives from the Central Committee to the operating units in the field. Here we go. Be ready. Clean up your rifles.
I brought up the subject of what's going to happen after we take over the government. We become responsible then for administrating 250 million people. And there was no answers. No one had given any thought to economics. How are you going to clothe and feed these people? The only thing that I could get was that they expected that the Cubans and the North Vietnamese and the Chinese and the Russians would all want to occupy different portions of the United States. They also believed that their immediate responsibility would be to protect against what they called the counter-revolution. And they felt that this counter-revolution could best be guarded against by creating and establishing re-education centers in the Southwest, where we would take all the people who needed to be re-educated into the new way of thinking and teach them how things were going to be. I asked, well, what is going to happen to those people that we can't re-educate, that are die-hard capitalists? And the reply was that they'd have to be eliminated. And when I pursued this further, they estimated that they would have to eliminate 25 million people in these re-education centers. And when I say eliminate, I mean kill. 25 million people. I want you to imagine sitting in a room with 25 people, most of which have graduate degrees from Columbia and other well-known educational centers, and hear them figuring out the logistics for the elimination of 25 million people. And they were dead serious.
And that was from 1982 documentary, No Place to Hide, guys. So what do you think about this, Glenn?
That actually, I hadn't heard that whole... I had heard of that, but I hadn't heard that whole statement.
Okay.
And
I'm glad I played again.
That's frightening.
Yes, and this is, unfortunately, guys, it's happening. And now let's look at all these things we were talking about. Think about Russia, Cuba, China. Talk about Bill Air, Obama, NDA. I mean, this is another little clip I need to play for all the Obamanoids out there that they still have their heads in their butt. I think I can say that over there. Oh, but there was a McCain thing. Obama didn't want that. Okay, let's hear directly from the voice of another pig, Senator Carl Levin. Okay, they pretty much spell it out. At least on this one is honest. Let's see. This is Carl Levin, Senator Levin, on National Defense Authorization Act.
And I'm wondering whether the senator is familiar with the fact that the language which precluded the application of Section 1031 to American citizens was in the bill that we originally approved in the Armed Services Committee, and the administration asked us to remove the language which says that U.S. citizens and lawful residents would not be subject to this section. Is the senator familiar with the fact that it was the administration that asked us to remove the very language which we had in the bill which passed the committee, and that we removed it at the request of the administration that would have said that this determination would not apply to U.S. citizens and lawful residents. I'm just wondering, is the Senator familiar with the fact that it was the administration which asked us to remove the very language, the absence of which is now objected to by the Senator from Illinois?
I'm familiar now because the Senator from Michigan has shared that.
Here we go. That's pretty much, guys, a Democrat spelling it out. It was Obama, the administration, to pretty much be sure that the exception, they would have exempted this National Defense Authorization Act for us, American citizens. Unfortunately, Obama wanted it.
Well, I tell you, Senator Levine, I actually have a little respect for, because although he is a progressive and to the left, so to speak, he's honest.
Oh, at least I agree with you. At least that is honest.
And I can respect that.
Yes, that part I agree with you. Of course, he's a completely, on budgets and guns rights, individual rights. I mean, let's not forget Patriot Act and everything else. But at least he spelled it out. He doesn't hide. He throw the rocks, and at least he say, "Yeah, I did that." I agree with you.
He's a little more. From listening to him and looking at some of his stuff, he's a little bit more liberty-minded than some of the others.
Oh, compared to Obama,
still he's to the left.
At least on this one, he wanted to do the right thing. Okay, I mean, every person that. At least he tried, or at least he tried to expose it. Now, guys, this is my point, I'm here on this show. I don't really have any type of extra time in my life. I don't do this because I'm getting rich. Honestly, I don't even get paid, okay? And normally, we put a big targets on us when we start to talk about things like that. My only goal, my only reason why I'm here, because I'm trying to use this megaphone that I have through the internet and to the station to wake up everybody I can. And I invite everybody to verify the sources of what I'm talking about it. And I always pray that you prove me wrong, because that would make me feel very happy. If I'm wrong about these things, I'll be very happy. Say, great, thank you very much. But the point is, unfortunately, these things have already been pretty much verified. And, of course, you do your job. And then after you realize this is real, we must wake up. We must unite. I don't care if you are left, right, center, upside down, whatever you want to do. But we are human beings. We are Americans. We are all in danger. That's my only concern. We need to stick up together for our basic human rights and freedom. That's my goal. That's the why I'm here. And I hope we can unite. We hope we can educate each other. Go find a veteran. Find somebody that knows more than you about everything. It's not just about guns. It's about communication. It's about, you were saying before, Glenn, about medical, emergency, logistic. To be prepared if there is an emergency tomorrow. What if tomorrow we wake up in the morning that we are in martial law? Completely. And Obama takes control of everything, because already we have all the executive orders out there. He can take control about everything, from the communication to your food of your house, to the water, to your means of communication and transportation. Everything. I can relocate you in camps. And people say, oh no, the camps don't exist. HR 645, go check it out. Okay? Think about it, Glenn. We are so close. I smell it, my friend. This is, unfortunately, I hope my instinct is wrong, but I have chills on my back, and this has never really happened so close like now.
Well, I'll tell you something that may sound silly, but I got excited yesterday when I looked at my statistics. I did this article about an experience I had with house finches. House finches are little birds, but these birds stood firm and stared at me through the window, and I couldn't figure out what they were doing. And later on, I found out they had made a nest, and they were protecting that nest. So these are brave little birds. I was really excited that somebody found that article through the internet, because not that I want anybody to go to sleep and just, but that's the kind of thing I want the world to be. It may sound silly, but I went through and signed the check to protect my country so I could come home and be left alone. Go out and take pictures of deer and stuff like that, and put articles about how great things are. But unfortunately, you have to mix the bad with the good. And I would much rather have a world where we're, things like that, but it's just not a reality when you look at all the pieces that are of the puzzle.
Exactly.
And that's what's really saddening. is that, and the old saying of freedom isn't free, the internal price of freedom is vigilance, or however that goes. I'm sorry.
Eternal vigilance. Yes.
But that's just the facts of life.
Exactly. And guys, as I said, this is not a game. This is not a joke. This is not entertainment. Please do your researches and prepare. Have a plan. And God help us. That's all I can say. Please, Glenn, say one more time before we close the hour the name of the website of your Gazette, so people can reach you, maybe also read your articles.
Okay, Northern Arizona Gazette.com is my main news website. It's also on Facebook.
Perfect, guys. So you're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom. Thank you very much, Glenn. And you don't go away, guys, because we are going for the hour number 3, third hour, and we'll talk about love and even more news. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Lucas Zanna.
Have you ever met someone on an online dating site and thought, wow, this guy is perfect for me, or she is simply amazing, only to find out they were hiding a deep, dark secret? They plan to vote for Hillary. FreedomLovers.us was created for singles who want to exchange ideas and a love for freedom. People who are looking for solutions to create and defend freedom in the real world, and at the same time getting that once-in-a-lifetime chance to find their true soulmate. Whether you are interested in meeting your soulmate, making new friends, networking, or hanging out with that like-minded liberty lover, visit FreedomLovers.us. It's the first free dating site and community. So Patriots, don't waste your time with other dating sites. FreedomLovers.us is the place where like-minded singles really click.
You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Lucas Zanna on United States .fm network.
Have you ever met someone on an online dating site and thought, wow, this guy is perfect for me, or she is simply amazing, only to find out they were hiding a deep, dark secret? They plan to vote for Hillary. FreedomLovers.us was created for singles who want to exchange ideas and a love for freedom. People who are looking for solutions to create and defend freedom in the real world, and at the same time getting that once-in-a-lifetime chance to find their true soulmate. Whether you are interested in meeting your soulmate, making new friends, networking, or hanging out with that like-minded liberty lover, visit FreedomLovers.us. It's the first free dating site and community. So Patriots, don't waste your time with other dating sites. FreedomLovers.us is the place where like-minded singles really click.
Hi everybody, this is Lucas Zanna. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom. Very simply, this show it's about many things, but one thing's for sure, it's about freedom of speech. And as you know, sometimes I say things that may be a little controversial, but I always try to back them up with facts. Now, when I see things happening, especially in the community where I live, here in Mojave County, they're in hypocritical things against the freedom of speech, especially from organizations that I believe in their good intent at the beginning were pretty much created to try to oppose this global and more important, this government intrusion in our rights, like the Tea Party. I really get sad. I'm not even mad. I get very much disappointed, especially when I know the people that are, they've been also on my show that happened to them. And I also know the people that supposedly are, allegedly, because I like to talk to them, of course, they have done these acts against other people. Let me be more specific. A few weeks ago, there was in Lake Havasu an event organized by the Lake Havasu Tea Party, inviting Congressman Paul Gosar, that is our congressman. There were many questions, and among them, there were a couple individuals who asked some specific question about geoengineering, weather modification / chemtrails. And now, from now, the story will continue with my friend that also she's been on my show here several times regarding different topics, mostly the health topics, but today we're talking about something that is as important. This is the topic called, first of all, freedom of speech, and more important also what type of behavior a congressman has regarding towards a constituent. That pretty much she's asking just as simple questions. Now, Kristen Harper, are you there?
Yes, I am. Good morning, Luca.
Okay, good morning. You know, when I found out this news about you and the Tea Party, that pretty much you've been ostracized and you've been removed from the planners, I've been pretty much disappointed, but I wanted to talk with you about it and also talk about what happened. You are the best person to pretty much share what happened, at least according to from your point of view. What did happen, first of all, with Congressman Gosar at the Tea Party event?
Right, so we had this event, and this was actually on March 14th, and there were questions that were asked at the very end of the event to Congressman Gosar, and we had a lot of questions, and there were two gentlemen reading the 3x5 cards, and I knew that they were not going to get to my question because we didn't have enough time, so I interrupted both gentlemen, and I said, you need to read my card, this is really important. So there was a gentleman that read my card. He couldn't finish the question, so I interrupted. I actually went up there, and I finished my 3x5 card, and I was not disrespectful in any way. I used my First Amendment right, and I just told Congressman Gosar, you know, chemtrails is a very serious issue. Why aren't you doing anything about this? I brought up two incidents here in Arizona. I brought up your group, the barium group, especially of individuals. There's 17 people that had blood tests done. Most of them live in Mojave County, and 87% of them are showing high levels of barium, so I brought up that. I brought up the issue that happened down in Prescott in November with the 3 military planes. There were pictures taken, and there was fibrous material that was actually deployed from these military planes, and this involved Marie Snows and Corey Gunnels, and they got a sample of the fibrous material. They sent it off to a lab. It came back with strontium, aluminum, and barium. And I told Congressman Gosar that we want a representative for we the people. I mean, he needs to listen to us. And I told him to go out and look at the skies. They're spraying, because I know Bridget had sent me a message on Facebook that they're spraying. So I told him to go look at the skies. He went out there. He came back in. He looked at me, and I have this all on video. And people can look for themselves. If they, I mean, I was not disrespectful, and you can see the video. I have it filmed. And Congressman Gosar looked at me, and he said, I appreciate, thanks for making those nice allegations. I don't sit on the relevant committee of that aspect. I forward this issue on to Congressman David Schweikert. And he said, thanks for contaminating the conversation. That's what he told me. He was really upset, and I wasn't expecting that.
Wow.
And then,
wow.
Yeah. And then I was going to say Chris, and I don't know Chris. I mean, he showed up to the event. I've never known him before because I've been doing the Tea Party. I've been involved for like almost a year and a half. I've gone to all the events. Chris has never been there, but this is the first time I actually saw him at the event. And then he spoke afterwards, and he told Congressman Gosar that he really needs to do a little bit of homework. You know, he's lacking knowledge when it comes to this issue. And he said, I'm not trying to insult your intelligence. And then Mr. Gosar said, you just did.
Wow, wow, this is amazing. You know, what is more amazing for me, first of all, Congressman Gosar forgot that he works for the people, for us. He thinks in some private business, if you're a CEO of some corporation, yeah, you can do whatever you want, pretty much. You can treat your workers as slaves till they pretty much bear with you and they don't leave you. But this is a public business. This man is paid by us. He's supposed to work for us. Regardless now, the chemtrails topic that he may believe or not, and he may be plain stupid or not, then I'll tell you what I think about it. But the point, more important now, first of all, in my opinion, is this man is a public servant, and he's acting as a public, I don't know if I can say the word. Anyway, public, but I don't know. Anyway, it's a very bad person, okay? I'm really getting mad. I'm sorry, sorry, listener, because when I see things like that, I saw the video, by the way, and I would like to post this video. I will post this video of the interaction with Kristen and Congressman Gosar on Love, Guns, Freedom .com on today's show. So he's acting like a bad person, in my opinion, like a person who forgot, first of all, his oath of office. He's working for us, representing us. That number one. Number two, to call your names and to try to be like that, that's very bad, even regardless, just because you're a lady. I think that's very disrespectful. But then also another important thing, the gentleman, Congressman Gosar, and call him gentleman in a sarcastic way, because I really lost a lot of respect for him. Even as a congressman, he knows the facts. We've been sending him information regarding the weather modifications, documents, attempt legislations, like from former Congressman Kucinich in 2001. He was trying to pass federal law, sponsor federal law for the preservation of our skies, and exactly was spelled out, the word chemtrail. So we gave him a lot of information. Now that he's playing completely ignorant or try to deflect and give the responsibility to somebody else, he is our congressman. Regardless in which committee he sits, it's his duty to at least learn, listen, and of course speak up for us. Now, the worst part is not over. What happened to you? You've been working voluntarily. I mean, you don't get paid. You did a lot of job for free as a person who believes in the principle that supposedly the Tea Party started with. You work for free. You volunteer at the Tea Party in Lake Havasu. Now, a few days ago, you heard some news. What happened?
Okay, and just to give you some information, I've been with the Tea Party now. I actually was an officer, media director for the Tea Party. I've been with the Tea Party volunteering my time when I have a very busy schedule for almost a year and a half. And I set up the Facebook Tea Party page, got that done. It took me months to find a place to actually hold the Tea Party events, because a lot of these places in town here in Lake Havasu, they want a lot of money. It took me months to work out a deal with a local church here to have our event. So I did that. I put in so much time and effort into the Tea Party. So then just recently, I received an email from Bill McMahon. He is the chairman for the Lake Havasu Tea Party. He sent it to myself and also to Tea Party planning committee members. And I wasn't expecting this, and he sent this out, and he was just giving an update about the Tea Party. And he said that a couple things here. The first is he said that there was a lot of flack that was received about our last event at the very end of the program with the chemtrail issue. So I'm supposing that there were some people within the Republican Party, some of his friends, that were going to him complaining. And then second, he put there are 2 people involved that were taken off the list of planners. And that includes myself and Chris Klug, meaning that we're not allowed to participate in the Tea Party planning meetings anymore, period.
Wow.
And I was so upset. I was like almost in tears. I was so upset because I've dedicated so much of my time into the Tea Party. And I have 2 problems with this, 2 serious problems. Number one is I have the right to my First Amendment, freedom of speech. Yes. And number 2, I was not disrespectful. Anyone can watch the video. I was never rude to him. I was asking him, why isn't he doing anything about geoengineering? That's all I said. I was never rude to him. Then even after the event, I tried to go talk to him and his assistant, Penny. He refused to talk to me. So even if someone says anything out there and makes rumors saying, well, maybe Kristen was rude to him afterwards, I couldn't even get a word in because he refused to talk to me, and his assistant, Penny, refused to talk to me. And I know Chris later on talked to Congressman Gosar after the event, but it was pretty much, he was just storming out the door, ready to leave.
This is so important, please, listeners. Regardless, if you believe in the facts that there are pretty much documents out there of geoengineering, weather modification, chemtrails, the fact here, the most important thing right now, it is the attitude of a public servant, or who's supposed to be a public servant. And I say this word not in a way to be mean to somebody, but it's true, working for the public. And this attitude is very sad. So I really believe, regardless of everything, we should maybe give a call to Congressman Gosar, remind them that what happened at the Tea Party with Mrs. Kristen Harper, and with Mr. Chris Klug, hopefully I didn't distort the last name, this is going to happen more and more. And he needs to start to grow up a little bit and be less of a baby. Because if he cannot handle questions, in a respectful way. Maybe he needs to go back to do his private business, being a dentist or whatever he does in Prescott area, okay? So I say, please, this show is not just a show to share the news, to share facts. It's also a show as a call to action. And I really beg you here, okay? This is the most important thing you can do. You don't even need to leave your home. Just get a phone number of Congressman Gozer and call and remind them exactly that you watch the video, because I invite you, first of all, to watch the video. Do not trust what I'm saying or what Kristen Harper is saying. Go to lovegunsfreedom.com, today's show, and there is the YouTube video, and you see the interaction. Kristen, by the way, is also a very polite lady. I am pretty much polite, but sometimes I am much more, able to lose my language. But she's very nice, and she's polite, and I see she's very respectful. So, and there is no excuse for Congressman Gozer to treating Kristen Harper and Chris Clark like that. So, call please Congressman Gozer. And then
I have his phone number too. It's in Prescott. It's 928-445-1683.
One more time, please.
928-445-1683.
Perfect. So this is the first thing I beg you to do it. Even if you think that chemtrails is just a bunch of lunatic things for people with a tinfoil hat, fine. If you believe that, that's okay. But please, I think we should all agree at least on one thing. We have freedom of speech, and regardless which party you are, you're a human being, and if you're respectful, you should be able to say pretty much everything you want, always in the context of the conversation of a political debate, of course. We're not talking about private matters, to your congressman. So call the congressman and tell him what you think about his behavior. Now, the sad things about Bill from the Tea Party, I'm very disappointed with him. I would like to have him on the show. And when you can, Krista, please send me again the phone number. So I don't want to give it on the air, of course. I will talk to him, and if he wants to give his side of the story, okay? Because the side of the story is pretty much, for me, black and white. I see here the email that is sent to you, and I'm very disturbed also from the fact that I don't even think he called you privately, right? I mean, this was something that you learned from this email, correct?
No, this has been going on for a while, Luca. So, after the event,
yes,
myself, Chris, and Bill, we went out to Starbucks and we had a conversation about chemtrails, right?
Yes.
Bill was never upset with us. That's the day that we called you, remember? On the phone?
Yes, I remember.
All three of us were. So we talked, and Bill never said anything then. He said he was not upset about if we were disrespectful. He never said anything. We were fine. We all got along great. And we called you and we talked to you. Yeah. And then later on, Bill was kind of going back and forth with texting. I have all the texts too, Yeah. And he'd tell me that people were approaching him for like the last couple of weeks, and maybe at this men's Republican club, and saying that myself and Chris were disrespectful and that we shouldn't belong to the Tea Party anymore. And if I ever participate in the future, if we participate, then they refuse to come anymore.
Wow. This is,
and you know what, in my personal opinion, Luca, I think what happened is some of these people, I don't know if they're his friends within the Republican Party, were kind of brainwashing him or something, and then he changed his tune, because he was fine at the beginning, and then as time went on, when he was hearing these stories, then he changed. And I will emphasize this one more time. If anyone says anything that afterwards I was disrespectful to Paul Gosar, I'm going to say it again. I tried to approach him and Penny, and they refused to talk to me, so I couldn't say anything. So whatever you saw in the video is how I was acting towards Congressman Gosar, and afterwards I could not get a word into him or Penny.
Okay, listen.
Chris had the conversation later on when he was...
This is my point why I'm sorry, guys. That's why I'm disgusted with any party. I don't care if it's the Republican Party. I don't care if it's the Democratic Party. Of course, even the Tea Party. Because you know what party are created for? To control a group. Pretty much in every party, there is the leadership. And then the masses, the followers, must pretty much follow what they've been told to do or to say. Unfortunately, even the Tea Party, even at the beginning, I know was somehow started as spontaneous ideas. Immediately or pretty much thereafter, it became some sort of a control opposition. I mean, if somebody tells you what you can say or can you say, what is about freedom of speech? What is about accountability? I mean, this is about like a little show. I know because I used to go to other meetings. For example, when the meetings of Congressman Trent Franks, that I'm very disgusted with him on many levels, but the point was a charade, was a fake, was this show where you can ask questions only on these little letters, 3x5, postcards or whatever they are. You need to write your question, and of course, who selects the questions? The staff of congressmen or the congressmen, and they only select the question that they are comfortable with. And they like to talk about things that we all agree. But then when you start to touch things that pretty much can be a little uncomfortable for several reasons, then you become the enemy. That's so sickening. It makes me puke, really disgusted. I am more probably respect for Obama now than the Tea Party in Havasu, and this is on the record. At least Obama, I know what type of piece of garbage he is, and he's doing things on our face, and he's acting as a tyrant that he is. Instead, you, people of the Tea Party, especially anybody that behind make this decision, to coward, to pretty much just to side as in a social club for kissing the butt of that piece of trash, and I say on the record, piece of trash. This is my opinion. I have enough information about Congressman Gozer. I don't care how many good things he's done. When somebody's acting like a Nazi that is another Nazi too, don't forget, Obama is not the only Nazi out there. A Nazi means that you are pretty much a national socialist. In this case, he's a tyrant. If somebody is using his influences to shut people down, to shut the First Amendment of his constituents. So I'm disgusted. And Bill, you know, I'm disgusted with you too. I'm so sorry, man. I thought you were more of a man on this. Especially when you know the truth. Just because you want to play politics, fine. You play politics, guess what? Fine, you can do whatever you want. That's your little toy. Play with your Tea Party club, but do not invite me anymore to these fake dinners, to these fake events, because it's all just a charade. The moment that we say something you do not agree, everything goes back to pretty much 101 fascism. Sorry, I lose a little bit sometimes. I'm kind of irritated with this.
I'm upset too, Luca. And just real quick, I wanted to bring up two more things. Also, if I was that disrespectful to Gosar, then he would have never talked to me. Here's an example. After this event, later on, because I'm looking at maybe possibly moving down to Prescott in the future, March 31st, after the event, Congressman Gosar was having a speech, and I went there to actually just listen, right? I talked to him afterwards. He was not rude to me, and he didn't tell me to leave. If I was disrespectful at the event, he would have never talked to me in Prescott.
Okay, I mean, listen, guys, all I say, do not trust Christian, do not trust me, watch the video, and that says it all. And then, of course, if you're a smart person, all you have to do now is document yourself. This is no more like 20 years ago. Internet, pretty much, you can find a lot of evidence. Even without the internet, just look at the sky. People are getting sick. We're dying. Look at these airplanes. Look at the pattern. Look at the altitude. Look at, even if this was just regular exhaust from the engine with JPL, you know, this jet propellant fuel, it's carcinogenic. I mean, this stuff is bad. And then when you start to read the information, you realize this is all true. And Congressman Goza must be a special place in hell for politicians like you that pretty much avoid to even face the reality. I don't know if you've been told this is something about national security or some other garbage. Whatever it is, you are a man, you have a degree, he is a congressman, he's educated, he has also a degree in science, medical degree, so he has enough brain. If an idiot like me from Italy that still has an accent, doesn't even know grammar very well, can understand whether modification, chemtrails is real, I imagine a congressman, he should know better than me. So there is no excuse. He must know something that pretty much, something's been told to him. I don't know the story. I just can speculate. But I know.
Oh, and look at what he told me down in Prescott, too, because I talked to him after the event down in Prescott, and he told me that he feels in his heart that they're contrails, is what he told me.
Yeah.
And then also, ordinary people are noticing the skies. On April 3rd was the worst I've ever seen the skies in Lake Havasu ever since I've been here. Yeah. And ordinary people that are not even activists, they were taking pictures and posting them on Facebook.
Wow. Excellent.
Ordinary people.
Listen, that's all I'm saying, guys. Now it's up to all of us. Kristen is doing her part. I'm trying to do my part, even with my limitations. Now this congressman, like many other congressmen, like all these wigs of the different Tea parties or the different parties. I don't care if you're Republican Party or Democratic Party, because they're doing the same. They're all covering up. Both parties. It's time to speak up. This is not a matter of just, little things. This is about, first of all, the truth, and more important, our lives, our health. let's not forget that there are enough documents out there, of the classified documents. The U.S. government is being experimenting on civilians without the consent of the civilians for 60 or 70 years. Many times. And if you live in Mohave County, if you laugh at this issue, think about when 40, 50 years ago, there were a bunch of people now they call themselves the downwinders. They are pretty much all dead with cancer or tumors. Because they were trying to pretty much maybe say there is something going on. That's not normal. Oh, shut up. Don't be a conspiracy theory. Be a good patriot. Just die in silence. That's pretty much what they're asking us to do. And in 20 years from now, I don't need some sort of a charity with a check to pay for what? For my burial expenses from the federal government like they're doing now to the downwinders. They know very well this is all true, unfortunately, guys. Now, every local official, politician that he wants to play the little social game and be silent because afraid to be pointed out, I'm so sad with you. You know, you pretty much, you know the truth. A lot of people know the truth, and they're still siding with the silence because they know that they don't want to somehow grab attention, take attention on them, and they want to play this politics game. That's fine. As I said, there must be a special place in hell for every elected official who knows the truth, is supposed to represent us and defend our rights, and among that, life, and you're silent. I hope you're rotting in hell, seriously. Now, Krista, let me call Chris, and then if you can send me through instant message the phone number of Bill, because I'm in the mood today, I'll give him a call. And then, of course, let's see if he can talk to me or not. And I'll be polite and normally as I am, but I'm still disgusted with him. And I want to, of course, give him a chance to rebuke whatever he wants to rebuke about his email. Okay? Thank you very much.
Sounds good, Luca. You take care.
I'm very proud of what you've done, and I wish now more people must do the same. Sometimes we must make choices, you know. We want to be part of the group, or we want to be alone standing for the truth. That's all I'm saying. Follow your heart. Do whatever you think is right. But for sure, I will never go back to the Tea Party or any other party that pretty much treats you like a slave. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Lucas Zanna. Let me get hold of Chris Clark. Don't go away.
Extermination, intoxication, tribulation, human rights violation, and devastation. Chemtrails, chemtrails, we will prevail. Chemtrails, chemtrails, we will prevail.
Love, Guns, and Freedom. That was Kristen Harper, okay? And we are talking about freedom of speech, of course. We're talking about a little bit of a very important thing. It's weather modification, chemtrails. And also we're talking about the attitude of what's supposed to be our public servants. In this case, Congressman Gozer acting like pretty much a little boss. Disrespecting our constituents. Now, I have another person that is a witness, and also is not just a witness, but he was there as a main playing actor. I mean, actor means person that was asking questions. His name is Chris Clark from Lake Havasu. Chris, how you there?
I'm here, Luca.
Very good. Nice to meet you again. We talked over the phone before. And please introduce a little bit yourself, who you are. You live in Havasu. You know, a little bit about your background, just to show who you are, because people must understand that we are real people here, okay?
All right, sure. I have a small business in Lake Havasu City. I have a small boat business, I should say. I'm originally from Illinois. I moved out here about 6 years ago. And prior to getting into the boat business, I did work for the Department of Defense. I was involved in surveillance and protection of foreign dignitaries, and so I have that in my background. And I'm very, very concerned about this geoengineering, chemtrailing issue and so forth. And actually, when went to this, well, I won't get into that yet, but as far as my future is concerned, I'm very concerned about my future because of this chemtrail thing and so forth, because I realize the possible repercussions of what's going on.
Exactly. I mean, everybody now, 2015, anybody really wants to look for facts, they're out there, okay? I mean, there's so much information, so much. And this, of course, this is now, right now, in this segment, we don't have the time to do that. But the point is, regardless, now, if people wants to believe it about facts or not, there is a point that for me is even more disturbing, at least as much disturbing of the chemtrails issue. It is this behavior that Congressman Gozer pretty much show in disregarding your questions, and also Kristen Harper questions, and then also the consequences that came after to people like Kristen Harper pretty much being ostracized from the Tea Party. I mean, this is, for me, is probably as bad as the chemtrails. Well, can you please remind us a little bit exactly what was your interaction with Congressman Gozer? Because Kristen Harper was the first one, I guess, to ask questions about chemtrails. Right. Then what happened? What did you do?
Well, to kind of just give you a basic rundown, I attended the meeting because I figured Gosar might be able to give the attendees there a little bit of perspective about what was going on in Washington from an outside view of the community. And I was listening and just kind of sitting there, taking it all in. And what was being said was, you know, the usual normal questions and whatnot. Well, then Kristen Harper brought up her issue, and the issues were presented in a question and answer period after the main meeting. The main meeting consisted of Gosar giving a pictorial presentation and talking about all the things he's done. And we are all appreciative of the good things that Gosar has done. Don't want that to go unsaid. But Kristen had this issue that was being presented by a gentleman there. His name was Dick Hawkins. Now, Dick Hawkins was one of the readers. We had to put all our questions on 3x5 cards, and when the question and answer period came up, the 3x5 cards were read by these appointed readers. Well, Dick Hawkins was a reader, and he was trying to present Kristen's question. He wasn't doing a very good job.
Wow.
And so Kristen actually took over the presentation of her question, and in the course of her presentation of things she was saying, she also mentioned that some chemtrails were being sprayed at that very moment. Well, after she said that, Gosar said, fine, well, let's all go outside, and he ended up heading for the door.
Mm-hmm.
And so he went outside, and when he returned, he basically dismissed her relevancy. He basically said that he didn't sit on any relevant committees concerning this aspect. He said that Dave Schweigert, who was another representative, would have to be contacted, and Schweigert was on what he referred to as a science and technology committee. And then what Gosar proceeded to do was he thanked Kristen Harper for her contamination of the entire conversation.
Wow.
And I sat there taking all this in, witnessing this, and I was really bothered by the whole proceeding, and I was especially bothered by Gosar's lack of respect for Kristen and extremely rude, dismissing comment to her. So what I did, I raised my hand, and Gosar knows me, and we've met on separate occasions, and I told Gosar that Dave Schweigert, the guy that he was referring the whole group to, actually denied the existence of chemtrails, and he did this denial after a Lincoln Day dinner here in Havasu a couple years ago, and there were actually witnesses to this. Wow. Well, then Gosar got a little bit, how can I say, perturbed. His mouth sort of opened up. He looked at me, and I told him that I had worked for the Department of Defense, and I also mentioned the fact that perhaps his lack of knowledge in regard to this aspect might be a factor. And I said maybe if he did a little homework and learned a little bit more about the issue, and I told Paul Gosar, I says, Paul, I says, I'm not insulting your intelligence. Well, he totally cut me off right there. And he said, you just did.
Wow.
Basically telling me that I did insult his intelligence. And he said, we'll have to take this up at a different time. And then he repeated his comment about David Schweigert and getting a hold of him and so forth. And then I made the statement, I says, well, we certainly need to have more conversation on this aspect. And his reply to me was, well, get in line. And so the meeting pretty much ended at that point. And Paul Gosar went to the back of the room, and he was doing a photo shoot with some people.
Yeah.
And so I got a hold of Kristen Harper. I introduced myself to her, and I told her I was really surprised the way she had been treated. And I asked her if she would like to speak with Gosar with me after he finished the photo shoot, because I kind of knew him somewhat personally. I don't know him really well, but I know him as an acquaintance. I've met him at some Republican businessmen meetings, met him at some town hall meetings. I'm pretty much on a first-name basis with the guy. I just call him Paul. So we waited for him to finish the photo shoot, and we approached him. And he looked at us. He pointed his finger at me, and he almost yelled. He said, "Don't you ever do anything like that to me again."
Oh, otherwise, what happened? Or else?
And we both looked at him.
Wow.
And we were kind of dumbfounded because we didn't expect that kind of a reaction from him. And we tried to talk to him. Well, then he very loudly said, "This conversation is over," and he was going to turn and go out the door. So what I did,
Jesus.
I may or may not, maybe I shouldn't have done this, but I put my right hand on his left shoulder, and I actually prevented him momentarily from turning away, and tried to talk to him again. So he looked at me in the eye. He looked at my hand on his shoulder and didn't say a word. He just knocked my hand away with his left arm, and then he yelled out, "I'm out of here," and he stormed out of the building.
Oh my God!
That's
unbelievable.
It was pretty intense.
Unbelievable.
So I followed him out of the building, because I just didn't think that the issue should have been left in that manner. So I followed him out into the parking lot to his minivan, and I was greeted by a woman by the name of Penny Pugh, and I guess she's an assistant of his.
Yeah.
And she said that I should have more respect for our representative. And I told her, I says, I do. And I said, so I walked over to Gosar. He was in the back of his van, and Penny approached, and they started going through some paperwork. And I was not insulting. I was not, how can I say, ill-tempered at all.
Mm-hmm.
But I started telling him about the local people who had been affected by the chemtrail geoengineering, and these people that were sick. Well, then I told him about Rosalind Peterson and her United Nations address.
Yes.
I told him about Kristen Megan, the ex-military gal, and her talks all across the country about these chemtrails.
Yes.
I told him about Dave Wingington and all the information that he's put out and so forth on the subject. I told him about ex-Department of Defense people that I could introduce him to and have him talk with him.
Wow.
And maybe enlighten him a little bit about what was going on. And all the time he and Penny were going through these papers in the back of his van while I was speaking, they didn't look at me. They didn't acknowledge me. It was like I was just talking to nobody. They didn't even acknowledge that I was there. So when they finished, he jumped in his van and basically just took off and left me standing there.
Oh my God,
and it was quite an incident.
Chris,
I should add one thing.
Yes,
I should add one
go
thing.
ahead, please.
I told him that I respected him for all the good he had done, but I said that this matter also required his attention. And he didn't say a word. He just took off. And I was very surprised. I was very surprised at his behavior through that whole session. I was surprised at the way he treated Kristen Harper. The the manner in which he spoke to her and dismissed her, very classless behavior in my mind, and that irritated me. And considering the fact that Kristen actually brought up the most important issue of that whole meeting, what she had to say was more important than anything that was discussed there, and he basically neglected the whole thing, gave it no attention whatsoever, and disregarded it all.
Chris, and this is important, the point, guys. First of all, I mean, when he mentions to talk to another congressman that is in charge of some scientific panel, we did not vote for another congressman. He is our congressman. He is our representative.
That's right.
So that's enough.
Right.
He has to do his job. This is not like something, go to talk to somebody else. No, we voted for you. Your chair, your gas money, everything's paid by us. Maybe you forgot that. But there is something out here that is disgusting and disturbing. Let's say that you were talking about any other topic. I don't think you would ever be treated like that. This is a topic so heavy duty, like I've been seen and from records. For example, when Congressman Kucinich, former Congressman Kucinich, he tried to pass a bill in 2001, I guess, to pretty much stop this experimenting of these weapons. They're considered scholar weapons, and they mention in this bill that he was sponsoring chemtrails. And he was told by the military, the Department of Defense, to ever mention that word anymore. And the new bill that was drafted, the word chemtrails was removed. So there must be something so deep that maybe they're trying to hide it behind national security. I don't know. I cannot guess. But all I know that there is no excuse for a man that anyway is also supposed to represent us. He's supposed to remember his oath of office and to treat constituents in this way. So even if you believe that this chemtrails issue, maybe you don't have enough information out there, you're still learning and you don't know, regardless, that's fine. Let's look. Yes.
Luca, there's all kinds of information.
No, I know. I'm just talking now. I'm just talking now.
It's readily available, and
Chris,
actually, Gosar, with his status being a Washington representative, he would be privy to all kinds of information that the private sector would not.
No, I understand, Chris. Let me tell you something. I agree, but I'm talking about for people that, let's say for a moment, that there are, skeptics everywhere, okay? It doesn't matter, okay? Let's say, but one thing we should at least look at the facts. If this is a public servant, this is a person supposed to work for us, there is no way, no reason that this man, Congressman Goza, should treat his constituents in this way. And then the consequence, that's the first thing. I think, we can have different people that still don't believe that the sun gets up in the morning and goes down at night, okay? That's fine. That's their right to be whatever they want to be. But I'm talking about regardless your party affiliation, regardless what you believe in science or not. Chemtrails is a scientific fact, but whatever. One thing we have here in front of me that is so disturbing to see the behavior of these Congressman Goza. And I want to give one more time his phone number. This time we want to give the phone number of Washington, D.C. And I beg you, even if you're not his congressman, even if you are in some other district, after you listen to the show, if you're a listener of the show, this is not a show to entertain. This is a show for call to action. Do this call, please. I beg you. Get a pen and paper. Phone number for Washington, D.C. District of Criminal Congressman Gosar Office, 202-225-2315. 202-225-2315, and politely, but be pretty much straightforward. Tell him what you think about his behavior. Tell him what you think, that we are not a bunch of kids. We know about weather modification. There are documents out there. I can apply for a permit through the state of Arizona website to start to do weather modification operation in my area for just $100. There is a permit, and directly from the Arizona website.gov. Think about it. They want to deny about that. Guess what? It's on their site. Chris, I am proud of you, and I'm proud of Kristen Harper, and I'll be proud of any other person out there who will have the courage to stand up for the truth and not be afraid to face these public servants and demand answers from them. Thank you very much, Chris. Okay?
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
I'm glad that I was able to speak, and thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Or just weather manipulation. chemtrails, we will prevail. Hey, have you looked at the sky? They are stealing our lives. There's death in the air. I'm not crazy, I swear. Hey, have you looked at the sky? They are stealing our lives. There's death in the air. I'm not crazy, I swear. Google chemtrails, don't be afraid of the truth. Test your blood for barium and aluminum. Chemtrails, we will prevail. Chemtrails, we will prevail. Chemtrails, we will prevail. Yeah! Hey, have you looked at the sky? They are stealing our lives. There's death in the air. I'm not crazy, I swear. Hey, have you looked at the sky? They are stealing our lives. There's death in the air. I'm not crazy, I swear.
He's a songwriter, a poet, a rifleman,
I'm not afraid.
and a constitutional activist.
I'm not afraid.
Italian by birth,
I'm not afraid.
American by choice. Gianluca Zanna
I'm not afraid.
and his new CD, Love, Guns, and Freedom. 16 powerful songs on one CD from the heart of a patriot. For download or to order the CD, go to www.lovegunsfreedom.com. That's www.lovegunsfreedom.com. Lyrics for your mind, music for your heart. Gianluca Zanna's new CD, Love, Guns, and Freedom.
Here we go. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Luca Zanna. This is the final segment of the final hour. Normally in this hour, I share with you recipes, and we do the serenade, and maybe we meet singles, freedom-loving singles. Today I wanted to change a little bit, because I really felt a lot of pressure that I really wanted to bring it out. This is important, okay? I mean, first of all, the weather modification / chemtrails issue, it's vital. I mean, it's something that it is not a hobby. It is not just something. We can talk about taxes. We can talk about many other important things. But if we are dead, or if we are sick or critically ill, what you going to do? Nothing's going to be important. And that's not just for us, for who's coming after us, and also the environment. I mean, think about it. You're going to drink water full of polluted elements like aluminum, barium, and this is not just something that comes out of some conspiracy. I found documents. We have documents. People before me, the last 20 years, has been exposing this. Now, the most important thing here, it is, of course, the weather modification and the dangers, and also the relationship that we have with our public servants / public officials. A congressman, we had a meeting with Congressman Gozer after this event. I attended the meeting, and of course I was polite. I'm trying to be there and trying to reach out, okay? Of course, I also have in the back of my mind the knowledge of, supposedly, because I believe Kristen Harper. I also watched the video, by the way. I don't need to believe her or Chris Klug with the interaction they had with Congressman Gozer. It's there. It's on the video. So I know they were polite. They were asking a simple question, and they were treated completely with disrespect, like a bunch of kids. That's not the right way. Anyway, last week I attended the Kingman Republican Conservative Party in Kingman in the morning. There was this event with Congressman Gozer. Congressman Goza wanted to talk about several topics. That's fine, but me and also some other concerned citizens went there and started to ask questions. If you want to watch the video, by the way, I will post it on YouTube. Excuse me, I already posted on YouTube, but I will post it on today's show of Love, Guns, and Freedom. Go lovegunsfreedom.com and look at today's show. There is a YouTube. So you can judge yourself, okay? So regardless, we ask questions. I asked questions and also brought documents. And I will show you in these documents right now pretty much what I'm talking about. Congressman, he just pretty much said that, he was listening. He was polite with us, at least. Of course, we were more than just two people. Maybe he was kind of surprised. I don't know. I know with us he was polite. At least he listened. And also there were some frustrations in the room. Some people, they were kind of frustrated. I understand the frustration too. When you're getting poisoned, look at the downwinders in Mojave County 50 years ago. When they were poisoned by the radiation, and now they're all dead. I'm sure some of them, maybe when they started to understand that they were poisoned, they started to get frustrated. Very normal. Now, what's going on here? Watch the video. That's all I can say. Now, regarding the Tea Party, I tried to reach out on Bill McMahon. And, I sent him an email immediately after the conversation with Kristen Harper and Chris Klug. And I wrote him, I say, hi, Bill, I would like to pretty much invite you on the show. I'm pretty disappointed so far knowing that the Tea Party seems pretty much cut off out of the leadership. Kristen Harper, just because it seems like a retaliation to what she said, what she asked to Congressman Gozer. I would like to be fair, I said, and also I would like to give you the chance to give you 20 minutes on my show on the phone to pretty much rebuke what Kristen Harper or Chris Clark said. Guess what? I tried. I knew Bill McMahon. I had him on the show. I thought he was, a fair guy, and I'm trying to be fair with everybody. Unfortunately, I didn't get an email back. I just got a text message. Start to talk pretty much about many other different things that they're not concerned for what I'm talking here. And more important, he didn't want to come on the show. I sent him more than one email. I also left him a message in the phone. So I'm sorry, Bill. I'm disappointed with you because you never wanted to face, at least rebuke what Kristen Harper is saying. And this is sad because, if you are the leader or one of the chairman of the Tea Party in Lake Havasu, and the Tea Party stands for the Bill of Rights, Bill of Rights means freedom of speech also, and freedom of speech means that sometimes you're going to hear things that you don't agree. So you cannot just retaliate because maybe you got pressure from some local politicians or some, I don't know, who knows, I don't know, but for sure, Kristen Harper and Chris Clark, they were removed from the leadership of the planners, as you call them, of the Tea Party. So that's sad. I'm very sad with you guys. That's why I say, you want to do this game, that's fine. But I'm sure that anyway you didn't want to invite me anymore because sometimes I say things that probably, you expect to say, when I go to the Tea Party, you expect to say, okay, bash Obama and everything else is fine. No, I bash Obama and I bash also the Republicans because pretty much at the bottom, not just the top levels, look at now a county level or look at the city level. I don't see much difference anymore. Freedom of speech is freedom of speech. If somebody get pretty much removed from the Tea Party just because ask questions to a congressman that you don't like to hear it, I'm very mad. Anyway, move on. Now, back to the weather modification. This is vital, okay? This is vital because, as I'm saying, there are so many documents out there that I also brought to the congressman. And I invite you, please, go to lovegunsfreedom.com, okay? I put a lot of time and effort and love. I would consider this as my hour of love because when I have pretty much dedicating my personal time, my life, to try to find out the way to reach out, not just my elected officials, but also to reach out, most important, my fellow Americans, that this is real. Don't laugh at us because we are dying, we are getting sick, and I'll show you the proofs and evidence that weather modification, it's real. There are documents, there are laws. Let's start first of all with the original bill, HR 2977. It was originally sponsored by former Congressman Dennis Kucinich. Go to Google it, HR 2977. This Congressman Kucinich, as much as I disagree with him in many other aspects, on this one it was right on. The Space Preservation Act of 2001, he mentioned chemtrails. Exactly, as exotic weapon system in Section 7. And they removed that immediately. The Pentagon told them, don't mention the word anymore. And then there are so many other documents, hard copy documents, okay? We're talking about evidence from the federal websites. Go check it out. And then when people say, oh, yeah, we've been doing weather modification for many years. All we do, after all, we just do some cloud seeding with silver iodide, like they give you vitamins B or some sort of supplements good for your health. Just to let you know, guys, the silver iodide, according to the official Office of Environment, Health and Safety, or U.S. Berkeley, rates the silver iodide as a Class C, non-soluble, inorganic, hazardous chemical that pollutes water and soil. It's highly toxic to fish, livestock, and humans. Okay? What it does, it can give you cancer, it can get you in depression, headache, irritation, weakness, anemia. This stuff is real, and they are pretty much, if that's all they tell us, do you really trust them, first of all? They tell you they just spray just, between quotes, silver iodide, and you really trust them. But guess what? Even if it was just silver iodide, go check it out. Go to lovegunsfreedom.com, go to the blog section, and you will see this article that I wrote, Arizona Congressman Gozer denies weather modification program. And then I post there the video of the event, and I took me hours to do and collect all the hard copy documents in PDF directly from the website, government, state, and website, and universities. Okay, so go check them out. It's real. Weather modification is real, and nobody's going to convince me that the planet it's flat. The Earth it's not flat. Okay, and so weather modification is not just a conspiracy. Same story. You wanna laugh at me? Go ahead. At the end of the day, I will die one day, no matter what, but I will not die like an idiot, because one day, I really hope that one day the truth will come out. Like it came out with downwinders. I'm sure the downwinders, where I was complaining maybe 30, 40 years ago, they were saying, don't be a conspiracy, tinfoil hat, just die in silence, be a patriot. After all, the government would never do that to us. Really? Downwinders, they're all dead. And now, Congressman Gozer is trying to get some money just to pay for the leftover burial expenses or some medical bill. Disgusting. And don't get me wrong, I was very fair with Congressman Gozer. If you watch the video, I also pretty much complimented him and supported him to stand against the National Defense Authorization Act. So I don't have any type of agenda. I just stick with the facts. Now, before I close, I have 3 more minutes. Something important is a message to my fellow Americans and brothers from around the world. Sorry, I need some water. Anyway, I put this also on the blog. Go check it out. Things are happening, guys, okay? I don't need to tell you. Things are moving fast. And I have kind of a little suspicious that it's more than their average day in some sort of, activist situation. Let's put it this way. Let me go straight to the point. If something happens to me, like, they find me with 3 rounds in the back of my head and they say I committed suicide, let me be on the record one more time. I will never commit suicide here in front of you, my listeners. If you never hear from me anymore and my website is down, Zanna.us or lovegunsfreedom.com, no, I did not go on vacation to the Bahamas or move to Switzerland. Something happened to me. Why am I saying that? You think I'm paranoid? Maybe a little bit. Lately, of course, but I would call myself a person with 2 eyes and 2 ears, and also something between my ears, called brain. I can still see, I can feel when things are happening, and I see when I get followed. I can hear when my cell phone start to click and beep every time I talk about controversial topics. And also, more important, I remember very well what happened to me a couple years ago when the Department of Defense IP address tried to infiltrate on my computer, and I had them on YouTube, and you can check it out, the video that I put out there. I also remember when my phone started to ring 24 hours non-stop, every hour, day and night, after I finished my phone interview with one of the members of the Bandis family. Before I decided to join them. So, a lot of things happening, my dear friends, okay? All I'm saying, I'm aware of the risk and the potential scenarios that may happen in the next few weeks, or few days, or few months, who knows? And I take this as an honor to put myself in this position. Okay, it means I'm doing my part, And I'll continue to do my best until my blood runs into my veins. So all I'm saying, my friends, don't be afraid. Never stop exposing evil and tyranny. And after all they can take is our body. But they will never be able to conquer our spirit of freedom. Whatever will happen to the next few days or whatever, the show must go on. And all I want to say, I want to leave it with this phrase: long live to the Republic, and let's send the New World Order back to hell, where it belongs. You're listening to Lucas Zanna, and that was today's show of Love, Guns, and Freedom on KTOX 1340 AM and on UnitedStates.FM network. God's willing, I'll talk to you next Sunday. Ciao.
You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Lucas Zanna on UnitedStates.FM network.